The Late Morning Program with Nam Ras Podcast.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for watching. This is the Nam Ras Podcast, the #1 Hare Krishna podcast in the world. I'm so delighted to have Mukunda Prabhu on today. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for joining us.
Haribol, thank you so much for having me again.
Yes, exactly. So Mukunda Prabhu was last on the podcast remotely, episode 102. I will put that in the description. Now we're on episode, I think I've recorded 190 something.
Wow.
Yeah. But I've only released about 180 something.
Oh,
so there's still in
So it's
the
like an
pipeline.
archive.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it'll be coming out.
They're going to be like slow released out.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I record for a long time and then I don't record for a long time.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes
Yes.
sense.
But Mukunda Prabhu, always a pleasure to speak with you and to learn from you. You have so much to offer the Gaudiya community. I wanted to start off by maybe tell us what you've been doing right now, just in the past few weeks.
Well, right now we're maybe for the last, I don't know, since my wife retired, so we're looking at maybe 7 or 8 years now, maybe longer. We've dedicated ourselves to an order that I received from my Guru Dev, which was to travel and preach. I retired in 2006, and I had started doing it then. But with my wife's retirement, she was a dentist previously, and when she retired, it allowed us to go as a family, which made things a lot easier for one. And also, there's a great value in grihastas traveling. Sannyasis always travel, but when people can see a vision of what their lives are, and at the same time, get a sensibility that bhakti does exist beyond just giving everything up.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty powerful.
I love that.
So, following the road of Guru Dev, we've been traveling. And on this iteration, we just went to Dallas. I mentioned Tulsa, Cleveland, Syracuse, Maine, and Bhakti Bandhav yesterday, Ellenville, New York. And now here, then Philly and DC, Baltimore will be our last 2 stops on this trip. And then we'll see what happens after that.
What keeps you going, like traveling and preaching like this? There is the order of your guru, but at the same time, there needs to be some like real deep inspiration and relishing of Krishna consciousness for you to keep doing this.
Well, obviously you're traveling for doing Harikatha. And Harikatha or speaking and talking about Krishna. Because sometimes to new people, it's not so much an in-depth dive into the theology of deep Krishna consciousness.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, actually.
Yeah.
Sometimes we use the phrase Harikatha.
Yeah.
And, it's all Harikatha in terms of Krishna consciousness.
Right.
But sometimes based on your audience, you may not be like actually going into like Leela. You
Exactly.
may be. Right.
It's appropriate application.
Yeah.
So, and it's as exciting speaking to new people because now you're seeing the genesis of bhakti in someone. So that's part of the inspiration. And certainly in speaking to mature, seasoned devotees, it's watching the growth in the process. Because we'll probably get into it at some point in the conversation. But it is a fact that many devotees have practiced for many, many years. And the real sort of synthesis between the practice and what they're experiencing has been missing.
Yes.
We're just
That's such
talking about that, right?
Oh my gosh, that's so great that you brought that up.
Yeah,
I want to totally talk about
Yeah,
that.
let's get into it.
Yeah. Please continue. Yeah.
So, that's if I found an audience that is primarily devotees, because I don't want to leave anyone out whenever I'm traveling. So if there are new people, I'll always try to give some address to that dynamic. But if there's a predominance of seasoned devotees, I will touch on that topic because I think it's probably the most urgent need. And what I mean by not having a synthesis between experience and practice is devotees sometimes have been practicing 50 years and singing the morning prayers, Guru Astakam, Tulsi, Parikram, all these prayers. And there's not really an emotional investment because it's become ritualistic.
Yeah.
Understand? And part is because, not necessarily because you don't understand the meaning of the words, because go in a songbook, you can look them up. But what is my relationship to that?
Right.
You understand? Just like I've given an example in several of the classes that I've done. If I suddenly mention that Peter's moved from Chicago to New York, and I look at both of you, you both give me a look like, well, that's good for Peter, but what does that mean to me?
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
So until unless there is a relational value to what you're doing, it'll never invoke heart energy. It'll always remain either an intellectual process or something I've determined it's a good idea. It's a good idea to go to the gym. It's a good idea to be healthy. It's a good idea to practice bhakti. But it never becomes sort of I'm experiencing like you do in a relationship. Like if somebody knocks on your door, you open the door and you just see somebody standing there.
Yeah.
You may give them all of 3 minutes before you close the door. But as soon as they open their mouth and say, hey, I'm your cousin and I'm Auntie so-and-so's son,
Right.
that relational value
Whole
opens
thing
up.
is shifted. Now it's the relationship.
Come on in,
Yeah.
get some prasad, everything else. So in the same way, bhakti is a personal dynamic. That was the big thing that Srila Prabhupada said, that it's unlike impersonalism, voidism, or anything else as a spiritual path, it's full of personality all the way to the pinnacle of what we desire, which is personal, loving relationship with God. So if that love is not developing, that means my Guru Dev used to say in the broken English, a loop and hole. Instead of saying loop, he said loop and hole.
Loop and hole.
A loop and hole. So normally that loop and hole is simply that there hasn't been enough serious, and I know you want to get into this topic as well, shiksha in what it is we're doing.
Right.
You understand? And many people, especially at the time of, quote, second initiation, which is technically called Diksha, the ceremony itself becomes predominant. The fire yagya, the friends, the ceremony, it's normally on an auspicious day, and you get a little vibhuti on your head, some ash from the fire, and your friends are saying Haribol, Haribol, and if you're a man, you're getting a thread, and so you go and you get a paper with some mantras on it, and Haribol, I'm a Brahmin.
Right.
But that's about it.
Yes.
And it's like, it's all about, like, it sounds like what you're saying is like, it becomes all about that day, like this is some accomplishment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I've done this, I've achieved it.
Exactly.
Check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That happens in all of bhakti.
Yeah.
I gave another example that, John, he figures out the Hare Krishna movement is a wonderful thing, starts coming to the temple, takes a deep interest, joins. 6 months later, he takes Harinam. He's now Jana Das. Maybe 1 year later, he's stayed with the temple, he hasn't left, he hasn't become frustrated, he's still giving it that effort. So he takes second initiation, and just what we just mentioned now, he goes through that process.
Right.
And then later on, because of his service attitude, he's temple commander, temple president. Then they recognize his managerial ability. Ultimately, you get the G, B, and C credentials. You understand? And then if it gets deeper than that, you get awarded with Guru. You understand?
Yeah.
And so then what happens?
Pinnacle. He's reached the top.
Yeah, the CEO of Bhakti.
Yeah.
You understand? Mentality.
Right.
And it's only because we never left behind John. John has just acquired one designation after another. So in Sanskrit, they're called upadhis.
But
Yes.
yeah.
Like Sarva Upadi Vinay Muktam, like in the shlok. So all these upadhis simply stack up on top of the ahamkara or false egoism of John, who never really left that behind. And you can't leave it behind because we need identity. That the soul has to have identity. So when we are under the influence of avidya or maya, asmita, you're given an identity by maya. Asmi means I am, ita means the condition. So asmita, I am something other than the das of Krishna.
Right.
And then karma produces one karmic iteration after another. One upadi, I'm John Doe, my family is Sally Doe and Bob Doe with the dodos, whatever, you understand? So in this way, you kind of maintain a designation. And even when you take up spiritual life, you don't leave it.
That's what I love about this example that you're giving, because I think, at least I don't think I was ever taught about upadhis in this way. I was always taught upadhi means material designation. But once you come into Krishna consciousness, it's almost like, but no, you're saying like actually, if we're anything other than Krishna Das can be an upadhi.
It's an upadhi, yeah.
So even in spiritual life, the particular, I am so and so, I'm a disciple of such and such, I do such and such seva, and all these are actually, or can be, or are actually
There
upadhis.
in fact are upadhis until there's sambandha gyan in relation to being das of Krishna. So what happens is that normally we frame ourselves according to our environment. So in the spiritual community, we take these upadhis as proper designations in that social environment. But we've never left behind the false egoism of being John. It's never been
We've
left
just
behind.
covered it with something
We've
else.
covered it with something else. Therefore, in Srimad Bhagavatam, in a couple of places, I thought it was only in the second canto, but I was looking in several places, Srila Prabhupada mentions you can practice bhakti in 81 different varieties of the modes of nature. Because there's 9 processes of bhakti, and the 3 modes of material nature are 3, but they are never stable. They always are interacting and mutating.
I'm trying to like think
9
how do you
times
get
9.
to
Yeah. So then 3
it's-
times 3 is
3 times
9.
3 that's what
Then
it is.
9 times 9 is
Okay.
81.
Yeah.
So it never transcends the modes of nature. Now it becomes predominated by the mode of goodness.
Yeah.
So once we're situated in the mode of goodness, one of the features of the mode of goodness is Shukha Sangena Bhadati in Bhagavad Gita. It conditions you to, and Jnana Sangena Cha. I have a false sense of knowledge. One, I understand something nobody else does. I'm not this body. You
And then that itself becomes
Yeah,
the,
that itself becomes a whole thing. All these other millions of people, they don't. I understand I'm not this body. I haven't realized it, but I understand I'm not this body.
Yeah.
So that gives a false sense of knowledge, and the lifestyle itself, because it's predominated by the mode of goodness, good food, good music, all good, meaning mode of goodness, good association, basically. So we become content. Prakasham anamayam is in the shlok. It means anamayam means I'm happy, I'm good. No need to take a deeper dive. No need to go deeper and surrender. We're good right here. Let's have a big festival together, enjoy the music, friends, and the ideal that I'm better situated than everybody else. And we can go on like that and then think, oh yeah, when I die, I'll get my welcome package in Vrindavan and all that other stuff will come about.
Yeah.
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 Isn't this because it's a one size kind of fits all type of initiation program, in the sense of the guru is not exactly making the program for individual people, the individual disciples, but it's like, okay, 4 rags, certain rounds, and all this other stuff, and it's just
Like very uniform.
you have to fit into
That mold.
you have to fit into that
mold.
cookie cutter
Yeah.
mode, I guess. So shouldn't it be more individualistic or individual to each person according to where they are? Like John might be here and Sally might be here, so but they both have to follow the exact same thing, which it might not be comfortable for Joe to follow, but it might be comfortable for Sally. Do you understand kind of my point?
Yeah, exactly, because this is the biggest problem with institutional Guru Tattva.
Yeah.
Right.
Institutional Guru Tattva says that because Rupa Goswami has mentioned Guru Pada Srayatata Diksha Shikshadi, you have to approach by approaching Guru. So now let's check that box. We'll have Guru. So you simply take initiation from the ideal of Guru, not the sadhu who's performing the function Guru. Because Guru is the function, not the person. In common parlance, we say, oh, this is my Guru Dev, this is my disciple. That's common parlance. But technically, Guru is the function. That function is Gu Shabdat Andakarasha, Ru Shabdat Andakarasha Nirodita. The removal of the ignorance of who I am spiritually is a function done by a sadhu. You understand? And the sadhu, Jiva Goswamis describe, Sadnoti Sadayati Cha Krishna Premiti Sadhu, who's understood the ultimate reality to be Krishna Prem, and they have some realization of that, they are sadhu. They'll perform the function of Guru to help remove the darkness of ignorance, beginning with the process Diksha. So that's why it says Guru Parashraya, Tata Diksha, then Shikshadi. Understand? Then he'll give Shiksha in Bhajan how to understand removing the darkness. Understand? But in the current, sort of program that's going on institutionally, you join, and I remember way back in the time, because I was present then, when you simply took initiation based on where you lived.
Right.
That was the whole zonal acharya thing.
Yeah.
Right? So also guru-disciple relationship, Jiva Goswami's mentioned in Bhakti Sandarbha, I'm paraphrasing here in English, is based on inspiration, not organization, not intimidation. So it's based strictly on inspiration. So the mutual pariksha, examination, guru to disciple, the opening of a heart portal between the two, that's the basis of initiation. And Srila Prabhupada quotes it in Adi Leela 135 in his purport, that one should not take initiation on hereditary, customary, social, or ecclesiastical considerations.
Ecclesiastical
Meaning organizational.
right.
Yes, exactly. But one should take from a genuine spiritual master. And then all the Guru Tattva that Srila Prabhupada has taught, over his Acharya Leela, which he's written in his books. That's the template. You know, that you should approach Guru, Tashmat Guru Prapajita, Jigyasya Shreyatama, ask relevant questions. And in that heart-to-heart portal between that aspirant and the person they're placing their faith in, that sadhu, who will then do the function of Guru for them, their inspiration will come. And then they'll genuinely be inspired in the process, taking Harinam, following the process. And as you mentioned, it is very individual. Therefore, when you look, how many disciples Rupa Goswami had?
Two.
One.
One.
Jiva Goswami Pad.
Right.
Yeah.
You understand? It's actually written in Sastra, one should not take too many disciples. So if you take 10, now there's a sane Pati Bhakta commission. A sane Pati Bhakta means like a general in an army. Al Srila Prabhupada, my own Guru Padma, in some ways Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur as well, they're commissioned by Mahaprabhu for a special purpose. Like Al Srila Prabhupada manifested the prophecy of Mahaprabhu. And not only just the chanting would be everywhere, but all these deep conceptions all the way up to what is Rasa Tattva Prem, all these things, which is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, like in Adi Leela chapter 4. He manifested that all over the world. That's a special kind of commission which would allow him to take thousands upon thousands of disciples and be personal to each one. Somebody asked me in the class, well, how is that possible? Well, actually, there's one shlok describing the glory of Shukadev Goswami. And it says he had the power to enter into the hearts. Hridayam muninam natosmi. He could enter the hearts of the 88,000 rishis. So when you're given a special commission like that, like Al Srila Prabhupada, my Guru Padma also, because of the nature of the work they were doing, they have the power to take thousands of disciples and still enter each heart of each disciple.
Right.
Understand?
But if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying almost like in English, there's the expression, right? The exception that proves the rule. So you're saying these are exceptional
exceptions
cases where there's that exceptional empowerment because there's an exceptional,
need
mission to be performed.
Exactly.
But that doesn't change the general principle, which
You should
is
not take too many disciples.
disciples.
In other words, if I don't know my disciples' names, that's an issue. You understand? If I'm meeting my disciple,
why is that an issue?
It's an issue because it means I'm not familiar enough with the person that has invested their whole heart in me to remember the very name that I might have given them.
Yeah.
You understand? So it's like if your wife walks in you and say, "Oh, what's your name? You want prasad?" You kind of feel a little, "What's going on here?"
Yeah.
You understand?
But again, going back to the sort of exceptional cases, right? I mean, there's documentation where Srila Prabhupada would be introduced to someone, right?
And wouldn't know that was his disciple.
Or someone, like one of his maybe more inner circle, or you could say more, sort of like I don't want to say closer, but disciples that work with him more closely would introduce another disciple and say, Srila Prabhupada, this is your disciple, so and so. You named him such and such, right? So in those instances, clearly Srila Prabhupada, quote unquote, didn't know that person's name until he was introduced to that person.
But the difference being that Srila Prabhupada didn't know the heart. See, the thing is about the ability to connect with the heart.
Yeah.
So there would be a difference between Srila Prabhupada or my Guru Padma or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur or any empowered sane Pati Bhakta like that, not knowing a name, but still having the ability to capture your heart personally.
Yeah.
Right? And also part of that is on us. Because if we're not mature in bhakti, we don't, because one part of taking shelter of Guru is called Vishrambena Guru Seva. So if the disciple has not reached that level yet, then that heart-to-heart connection is not there necessarily. But like Mahaprabhu gave millions of people the opportunity to take up Harinam, especially through Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur. Similarly, Al Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev in the same Pati Bhakta category, they're doing that. So if they forget a name, it's not the same as someone else taking too many disciples when it's not necessary and then not remembering a name, which probably means your heart-to-heart connection with that person is not there. And I've experienced that there are some cases where people are kind of feeling a sense of disconnection.
Yeah.
That I've taken Harinam, Diksha, etc., but I'm not feeling an actual heart-to-heart connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would you say to someone
but
who...
this is just one last point.
Yeah.
You can ask any Srila Prabhupada disciple or Gurudev disciple, they'll never say that. Though they may have said, well, I came in the latter time, I didn't get a lot of association, but everyone of Prabhupada's disciples say, I still felt a heart-to-heart connection.
Can I push back a little bit?
Yeah.
Couldn't it just be that those folks who eventually felt disconnected and fell away were just not in touch with them. Like in other words, it's like kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, or like right, or it's what is it called? It's like there's a term for this, but like a biased sample size or something.
Right.
We're only talking to those who stuck around and who still feel that heart-to-heart connection.
Right.
But what about, again, our Joe and Susie.
Right.
Joe and Susie were initiated and became, whatever.
A little disenfranchised.
Jagannath Das and Subhadra Dasi.
Yeah.
And then, didn't feel the heart-to-heart connection, which Srila Prabhupada left. And now they're Joe and Susie again out in the world, and we just don't talk to them.
There's a difference between people who, by their bhakti samskars, because bhakti samskars, like karmic impressions, are both, previous life and current life.
Yeah.
So like praktana kalduni chasti yatsat bhakti vasana. Our vasanas in bhakti also praktana means they're from previous lives. So it could be the sukriti or the pious credits of someone were not mature enough to really advance them in bhakti, but to a certain level in this life. That's one thing.
Yeah.
There is another when a person has come to the path, but the ability to give continual inspiration in the heart lacks, and that person becomes disenfranchised. Because this was the thing I'm speaking about, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, the nature of their preaching, the nature of their ability to penetrate the heart, like I gave the example of Shukdev Goswami, means even when I don't have proximity, even when I don't have physical association, the depth of the Harikatha that they've spoken, and in that case about Srila Prabhupada, a lot of it was in his writings. It penetrates the heart so deeply, you don't lose that connection. Now, the only way we can is what I mentioned, somebody's bhakti sukritis are not high enough to maintain so forth. That's a different case. So it's on both sides.
Yeah, right.
Right? But in the case of those who don't have the capacity nor the commission necessarily to be sane pati bhaktas, then the result happens that they also become maybe victimized later on.
Yeah.
Because Guru Abhiman becomes prominent. Because now instead of 5 people giving you their faith to nurture, 10,000 people are saying, Sri Guru Charana. Now you have to digest the whatever vestige of false egoism is left that wants to drink the pratishta of that upadi which has now been acquired. Yeah. And that becomes very difficult. Raghunath Das Goswami is mentioning pratishtasta drasht. That pride is such a thing that it's drasht means it's bold. Yeah. It can stand up in your heart, but you still can't recognize it.
Yeah.
Understand? Because the descriptions in Manu Shiksha are pretty bold. So it's like an outcast, dog-eating prostitute. It goes down a whole
donkey, urine, and all that
exactly.
stuff.
Dancing in the heart. So it's pretty, and then it says, Katam Sadhu Premas Prasati Suchir. Therefore, pure prem can enter the heart there. You understand? So then when you're communicating with any disciple or aspirant on the path, it's hard to communicate beyond the filter of that pride that's coming from that thing. Guru Abhiman.
Yeah.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there's one bhajan he sings. Tai Sisha Tava Takya Savara Guru Abhimana Tyaji. May Guru Abhiman go very far away.
Yeah.
And that will only happen if you have some understanding of your internal identity. Some understanding. Because then the taste in that internal identity supersedes any upadi that you would take in this world.
So what do you say to someone who does feel that disconnection? You said someone might be initiated, but then as time goes on, they don't feel that connection. What kind of advice do you give someone like that? Because it's quite common, I would say.
Yeah. I've seen it a lot in the travel. So, but one of the things is, this is like to your point about Diksha and shiksha.
Yeah.
You may even have received Harinama Diksha, and it's not that the Guru's not in the process properly. But it could be that for whatever reason, they have been unable to communicate inspirationally what is the actual essence of bhakti. So due to a combination of factors, like Venkat Prabhu brought up, distance, this thing, that thing, they start losing a connection. So now the best thing for them is, one, I would write my Guru Day first, and like you said, try to reestablish, well, maybe something's going wrong just on my end, which always it is, both cases in many instances, not always, because in many instances, everything is fine with Guru, but the disciples just, their material impressions are pushing them in such a way they can't make the connection properly. So you can try to force it, but one of the problems becomes if I have to speak to the secretary who's going to speak to the right-hand man who's going to then translate it to the secretary who's, you know what I mean?
Telephone.
Yeah, you understand?
Right.
So, but that being the case where the disconnect is happening, then this is where shiksha comes in. Because there may be somebody prominent in whom you've heard their harikatha, in whom you've had their association, in whom that level of inspiration is there, then Diksha and Shiksha Guru are the same, doing different functions according to Chaitanya Charitamrita. So you can take Shiksha, it's not a formal thing, it's a heart thing, take Shiksha from where you're getting inspiration. And that will revive it. And that's why it says, Tata Diksha Shikshati. And in our line, you were mentioning earlier, that Shiksha is prominent because though Diksha is meant to give Sambandha Gyan, the very thing we're talking about, which makes inspiration and makes the process of bhakti fruitful, even if you receive the mantras which contain the seed of that Sambandha Gyan, but you don't get illumination or Shiksha in the mantra, then your Sambandha Gyan doesn't develop. And so now John is the one who's practicing bhakti, not Krishna Das. This is a big realization step. We heard the philosophy, Jivera Srupoya, Krishna Nitya, Das. But constitutionally, everybody's a Das of Krishna.
Right.
You know, Philip the Fool is also Krishna Das. He's not aware of it.
Yeah.
So now we have the information. Again, quote, information, I'm Krishna Das.
Right. It's still theoretical level.
It's theoretical.
Yeah.
So you have to get Shiksha to solidify that idea. First, I'm Krishna Das, but being Dasita to Krishna is also generic.
Yeah.
It's like we're all human beings. But when I spoke to you about Peter's move, it didn't faze you because I don't have a relationship with Peter. You understand? So we need Das, and then we need specificity in Dasitva. This is called Visesh Sambandha Gyan.
Vishesh Sambandha Gyan.
At the time of Diksha, the meaning, Jiva Goswami has mentioned, Divya Gyanam Yanta Shimanti Matre, Bhagavat Swarup Gyanam Tena, Bhagavat Sambandha Visesh Gyanangscha. At that time, the seed of a specific relationship with Krishna is given. Radha and Krishna are present in Harinam. Now a particular relationship is being given to them for you to serve with a mood.
At the time of Diksha.
At the time of Diksha. Now, it may take maturation over many lives.
Right.
Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur is singing, Chakudan Diloye,
Janme
Janme
Prabhu.
because it may
Yeah,
take many lives for
right.
the maturation to come. So you'll hear Diksha many times. But Mahaprabhu told in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Diksha Kale Bhaktogane Atma Samarpan. When the stage of Saranagati is true, then the Diksha mantras will take effect, and the efficacy of that is it will produce an inspiration or ruchi for a particular mood of service to Bhagavan. Then hearing the Harikatha, that mood will become prominent, it will begin to grow, and then through the stage of Shraddha, then you go to Sadhu Sangha. The sadhu will teach bhajan siksha, which will nourish that mood. The kriya shakti, it's called bhajan kriya for two reasons. One is the activity is kriya.
Kriya, yeah.
But kriya also here means the kriya shakti of Bhagavan. Because the kriya shakti of Bhagavan is what will remove anarthas, etc., not our efforts. You cannot remove your own anarthas.
So it's his Kriya.
Kriya shakti, coming from Bhagavan,
Yeah.
ultimately from Radhika, because she's Mool Shakti Tattva,
Right.
it comes and it removes the anarthas. That's why in the process of surrender, when you hear the verse, it says, Anukuyasha Sankalpa Pratikuyasha Vivajanam. And before that, Prapati. Prapati means I have a desire to surrender, but I still have to act out those two things. But after that, who's doing everything? Rakshashati Vishwas Gopta Vevaranam Tata. Krishna. You understand? So Bhagavan, or Bhagavan Shakti, is now doing everything from there. The two things that are my endeavor, right? Because in the verse that describes your bhakti, it mentions Anya Vilasita Sunyam, Gyana Kamani Navritam, Anukuyena Krishna, Anusilanam.
Yeah.
And the sil dhatu, that verbal root in sila means endeavors.
Yeah.
But then Rupa Goswami is explaining the endeavors of two types. One is Chesta Roop and one is Bhava Roop. So here the word Bhava doesn't mean the stage of Bhava.
Right.
It means an emotional investment
Our
in the activity. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You understand?
So it's the activity itself, and then it's our emotional
Investment in that activity.
Wow, I love this. Like, I don't think I've ever heard that. That like, because you know, generally bhajana kriya, I think, okay, it's me, it's my activity, it's my, and there is that aspect of it, but ultimately
Those
you're
first
saying,
two things in Saranagati, yes.
yeah, but then ultimately it's recognizing that actually it's Radha and Krishna.
Exactly.
It's their activity. It's
Exactly.
yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
I have a question regarding initiation and like one's own effort, because sometimes people put a lot of emphasis on like, oh, like like you said, the mantra is coming in the parampara, and then that seed is planted into the heart of the disciple and things. So how much of it is that versus like the rounds aren't going to chant themselves per se? So it's how much is like
I love that expression.
Do you like that?
These,
I made that up.
these rounds aren't going to chant themselves.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's
Unless you buy a round machine.
that's
Or
true.
somebody invents it, Go ahead and handle that for me.
Yeah,
you know?
Hey, let me check
I'll come
Amazon
back
Prime
up.
for a
Yeah,
second. That sounds like a purchase worth making right there.
Or it sounds like a new invention. Yeah.
Because people, I hear all this thing like, oh, it has to be like traditional Diksha line because that's where the mantra is coming down from and it's unbroken and things. But then you see people who might have that initiation or whatever, they'll fall away because they are not following it. So how much of it is your effort versus like the initiation,
given
so
to
to
you,
say?
yeah.
Yeah, what's given to you or what lineage you're in,
Well, regardless of lineage, the process of sadhana involves those first things, which is saranagati. So the endeavor is the first two things, anukuyasya sankalpa. So would it be favorable to chant Harinam? Would it be favorable to go to Mangalarti? Would it be favorable to chant your Diksha mantras? Would it be favorable to do Takajis? Yes. So that's the anukuyasya sankalpa. So I'm taking a vow that I'll do those things because they're favorable. And
Can we pause for a second? Just because I love this and I feel like I wish in Gaudiya communities, or at least the communities that I'm most familiar with, maybe it's happening, but I wish this was emphasized more, or this was articulated in this way. Because even subtly, right, it's like, why do I do these things, right? I'm doing these things because ultimately they're favorable.
Exactly.
Towards, right? It's not that I'm doing these things because, I mean, maybe, initially I feel some social pressure, or I feel some fear. If I don't do this, I'm going to be punished. But ultimately,
or it's social correctness.
Or it's social correctness, or everyone else is doing it, right? But ultimately, with each and every one of these things, including, I would say, and I'm hearing Prabhu saying this, right? Including even like the most basic aspects of, or the most basic practices of our sadhana, right? Whether it's like chanting our mantra, like just to stop, I'm like, wait, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because this is favorable towards my relationship, towards rebuilding this relationship with Krishna.
But not only that, I mean, why do you bring flowers home to the wife?
It's a relationship.
It's a relationship.
Probably because I've done something stupid the day before and I need to...
Exactly, even that. But it's still based on the perception that I've done something wrong and need to make amends.
I need to...
Is based on a relationship.
Right.
Right? You don't think about that by, lady down the block.
Yeah.
Right? Because she probably cares less about what you've done wrong and you care less about making amends for it.
Right.
But to the wife with whom you have a relationship, so the process is itself a relationship with Krishna.
Yeah.
And the activities are an invocation of a mood of aspiration for a particular kind of love with Radha and Krishna. So the activities are actually invocatory in nature. Say
that again.
The invocatory in nature means what you do invokes the mercy. That's why there's so many bhajans that start kabe habe. When will. So it's an invocation that, please, I want to love or serve you in this way. The getting up at Mangalarti, until there's some maturation. Then you understand Astakalila, so many things may be there.
Yeah.
But prior to that, it's because I'm invoking the desire. Just like when you're dating, it's the constant phone calls and the text and the courteous things, etc. Unfortunately, in the material world, it doesn't always go on in a continuum, but it's to invoke creating the relationship.
Yeah.
So you're giving invocation to the desire you have to love Radha and Krishna by these activities. But the activities cannot produce love of God. This is where we have to realize we're not the doer or karta.
The activities just put us in the best possible position
to get mercy,
to receive that mercy.
Exactly.
And every activity is either in some way, shape, or form creating, strengthening, repairing that relationship. It always goes back to that relationship.
Yeah, well, what's happening literally is when we are doing the process of bhakti, the Swarup shakti. Swarup shakti means the internal energy, the spiritual energy. That energy is exerting what's called a prabhav, an influence. And your material impressions, which are composed of the material energy, they're being gradually melted by just like the sun. If it could be such that the proximity of things to the sun was so close, it would melt them.
Yeah.
So similarly, it's described that the prabhav or rays of Swarup Shakti come and start to gradually melt away, beginning with false egoism, and then the housing of all the upadis, which is the false ego, then all the desires related to start melting away in favor, right, of things related to your relationship with Krishna.
Right.
This is in Bhagavad Gita, Raso Vrajam Raso Piyasha Param Jaswanavartate. So then that taste in serving Krishna, the influence of the loving mood takes place in the consciousness and displaces my own desire.
Yeah.
Right? We need help with it though. So we give affirmation every morning because every single Guru Pranam begins Nama. So Nama literally means Na Ahamameti, not I and mine.
Yeah.
So I'm reaffirming Dasitva, and I'm reaffirming that everything should be anukul for Krishna, and whatever's pratikul for Krishna, I don't want that. But it's a mood.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Without Sambandha Gyan, that it can't happen. Because John will always have his own desires. And therefore, even if he's reading Bhagavatam, if you get to the second slok, it's going to tell you, Satam, what is this verse? What's this verse here? Paramo nimatsaranam satam. So here, nimatsarya, because the word matsarya means envy also. But here it's not meaning envy and malice, it's meaning self-interest. Paramo nimatsaranam satam. Only that person who can, looking for the highest ideal, give up their self-interest, means do saranagati. Bhagavatam is really for them. Because every other consideration has been removed. Dharma, prajita, kaita, votra, pra-ujita, prakrist ujita. Completely removed anything else except the Dharma, which was mentioned in the first verse. Janmadhyasya yataha anvayat hitarachastartishu abhigyasarat. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given a tika here, commentary. Janma adiras means love of Radha and Krishna, how I will serve that. That love, anvayat and hitaratas, means it manifests as meeting and separation. Abhigya here also means being conscious of that, right? The consciousness of that will come from the internal energy, Swarup Shakti. Swarup Shakti has three divisions. One is called Sandini, which means the substance itself. One is called Aladini, which means the bliss derived from cognition of that substance, which is called Samvit. So here, Abhigya means Samvit Shakti.
Yeah.
The cognizance that Krishna Swarat means he's independent. So he's the object of all enjoyment. Akila Samrita Murti. So he's the object of that love. The love is coming from Radhika. First verse of Bhagavatam, so deep. But it's only for those. Because the second verse is called the Vastunideshtatmaka verse. It's only for those who have no self-interest. Because you can't take your self-interest into the arena where everything is about one person, which is Krishna. It's going to be some conflict there.
Yeah.
Right.
You understand?
So what do you do about that self-interest? How do you work on that self-interest?
Then Nishrayasya means your ultimate self-interest is based in your identity. So again, establishing dasitva. So my real self-interest in dasitva is not the same self-interest that was here in the material world and all the various karmic iterations I've had in it.
Yeah.
The real self-interest is in my dasita to Krishna. Now, once I have that dasitva established, and here, because devotees tend to think, they romanticize realization. They really romanticize what realization means. Example, right after the podcast, let's all go to McDonald's, have a burger. Who's going? Everybody's looking at me like, you're absolutely crazy. Why is that not possible? Of course, maybe culturally, in your background, you've never ever done that. Because you've been born in devotee families or born in Bharat, then this is not the culture. But even if you ask any devotee who came from the Western paradigm who was formerly going to McDonald's, they're going to look at you like, are you out of your mind? Why? Because they realize that's not favorable to Bhakti and I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So we can't make realization only the pinnacle of realization, but it's all the intermediary steps to it.
So when you say romanticize realization, you mean...
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's more black and white. It's a black and white thing, and it's not
it's
like that.
It's
There's all this
nothing.
gray.
Right.
It's all. Well, it's
All
not
or
just
nothing.
gray, but it's all or nothing. So you've realized, like, there's a really interesting story that I heard from one senior, Uma Didi. She's passed away now.
Right. I've heard of her. Yeah.
But Uma Didi once went to her Gurudev, Pujapad Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj, and she said, "Oh Gurudev, I've been chanting so many years. I'm not getting any realization. Oh Gurudev, I don't know what is my fault." He says, "Okay, I'm giving blessing. From today forward, you don't have to chant Harinam." He said, "No, Gurudev, I have to chant my rounds." He said, "No, I'm telling you, you don't have to chant." "No, Gurudev, I have to chant." And she became a little, because she was actually attached to chanting, means some realization was there.
Right, there had to be something.
Understand?
Okay.
But you're always looking at realization as being when I'm in bhav.
Right.
Right.
It's the
So we
little.
idealize
It's the
romance
little.
as
Yeah.
we put it up there instead of recognizing
Where you are is
where
a
we are
realization.
and all those realizations along
In
the way.
between.
In between, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do kind of overlook that, or
Overlook
or,
it, yeah.
or not remember that.
And in doing so, we actually block the synthesis of advancing by understanding what's happening in our sojourn. Because if you ask any devotee, so what you realizing? Oh, I'm so far, I'm not realizing anything. Oh, so you're practicing 30, 40 years? And either one or two things. Either this is just politically correct speech, or something's missing. Because if you've been here 30 years and you don't feel you're making any kind of realizations, that's a problem. We wouldn't invest 30 years in anything in this material world that didn't give a result after those 30 years. If you've been making investments in the stock market or anything for 30 years and it's negative value, then, it's time to do a reassessment.
Yeah.
So we just don't know how to understand what is realization. Because many devotees either impose on bhajan or repose.
Yeah.
So imposing means you get some degree of some understanding and suddenly think I'm in manjari bhav. And that becomes prakrita sahajavad.
Right.
Or repose.
That's an overstepping.
That's overstepping.
Yeah.
Then the reposing is, Prabhu, you realize something? Oh, no, I can't realize. I'm fallen. I'm nothing.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And actually, real feeling like that, I have no realization, I'm nothing, it comes in prem. It's mentioned in, I think it's in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Paripokena danyasha Krishna premajasan vitanyate. That actually, that mood of danya bhav is a sanchari bhav. Sanchari bhav means in the stage of bhav. It's a sanchari bhav. Right? So it's coming from spiritual realization. Other than that, it's coming from politically correct speech or being socially postured in a society where, you don't have to stand out. Well, if you say you have some realization, oh, Prabhuji, what realization you have? You understand?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I think
defense mechanism.
Yeah, sometimes it comes from, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think it's so interesting with this whole like politically correct speech or like performative humility.
Exactly. That's a perfect word.
That I feel like some of it is like, oh, I'm supposed to be this way. But some of it is also fear that if I'm not this way, I'm going to get smacked down, which is such a sad statement of our, our community, that like the second I actually do say, well, yeah, actually I do have some realization, I'm afraid he's going to look at me and go, who the hell do you think you are? And smack me down. And so preemptively I'm oh no, I'm nothing, I'm whatever.
Interesting story. Pujapat Srila Gaur Swami Maharaj, he was giving Harikatha on Guru Tattva. I was watching on one video. And he was giving all the verses and very strong, Tadvidi Pranipatena, Tashmat Guru Prapad, all strong verses. Guru must be realized, all strong verses. And after the Harikatha, one devotee raised the question, so Gurudev, so you're like this. And his whole facial demeanor, posture, everything changed. Oh no, I don't even have a smell of prem. But his disciples asking a question. So what's happening? He genuinely is realizing, and when he was stimulated to think about himself, immediately Danya Bhav as a sanchari rose in his heart. You understand? So therefore he said, you understand? But we're saying
that's not performative.
It's
that's
not performative,
actually,
it's actual. And that's what made me, that statement you're making is a perfect statement, because it's not performative, nor is it trying to match the social dynamic where everybody says that same thing. The real statement is, I don't know. All I know is Gurudev's mercy. If something is there, if I've spoken something, some inspiration, is Gurudev's mercy.
Yeah.
If something's wrong, it's my mistake. That's all I do know for sure. You understand?
Yeah.
How fallen, this, that, I am. If we knew we were so fallen, then we should be very upset by it. How can we know we're so fallen and still carry on with the same thing? Right. Understand? So I really don't know. I only know Gurudev's mercy. Right? That's why I'm singing in the morning. Sangsara dhavana valida loka. My Gurudev pulled me from samsara. That much I know. And I'm trying to advance. Gurudev's so kind to me. He's taken me to the doorstep of Mahaprabhu's mercy. Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita. From Mahaprabhu's mercy, I'll end up serving Radha Krishna, Shri Vigrahara. Meditating like this and not trying to be the doer.
Yeah.
Insert myself. I'm controlling. I'm too fallen to have bhakti, etc., etc.
Right. Because that puts myself as a doer.
As a doer.
And as the,
going back to the question about the Diksha versus your own effort. So, because I've heard an example given that to make fire, you need 2 dry sticks to make fire.
Right.
But if one of them is wet, it could be either them, then it doesn't necessarily will make fire.
I've heard.
So if the disciple is not qualified, it won't. And if the guru is not qualified, it won't. Even the disciple may be qualified, it still won't make fire. So could you speak a little bit on what is the importance, like why is not so much importance put on the Diksha in our lineage as opposed to like the shiksha or even our own efforts?
No, Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami has gone over exclusively all about Diksha. Rupa Goswami mentions that in the very first Anga of Bhakti, Guru Tattva, Diksha.
Right.
So Diksha is extremely important. But if you have Diksha without Siksha, then the illumination of the Diksha doesn't bear fruit in the heart. So Shiksha is not more important, it's a necessary component of the Diksha.
I see. Okay.
Understand? If there's no Diksha, but you get all Siksha, it's also not good because we don't have adhikar to have eternally established Sambandha Gyan already. So the Diksha is establishing your Sambandha Gyan. Who are you in relation to Krishna? Your Das Krishna is constitutional, but who are you in relation to that? That's Diksha. Then by the illumination of the mantra, both the mantra itself and the harikatha around the mantra, the realizations of that begin to manifest in your chitta, in your consciousness. Understand? Mahaprabhu told, when he's speaking, Malikana se bija ropan, shravan kirtale jale, kariye shekon. Take the seed, which is Diksha, plant it, and then water it by hearing and chanting. The watering is shiksha. The planting of the seed given by Guru, this process is called Diksha.
And whether that shiksha is coming from the same person that gave Diksha or different, that's not such an important consideration.
Right, because it may be, like Guru Dev may enter Samadhi early, and before that your illumination had not taken place.
Right.
Or in cases where it's just that there's more prominence in a Shiksha Guru, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that Bipin Bihari was his guru, and actually Bhaktivinoda Thakur never spoke ill of
He never
Bipin Bihari
rejected him,
Goswami.
he never
No.
spoke ill
Right.
of him, yeah.
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had strong words because he's speaking from the point of view of the Nitya Siddha nature of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's Kamala Manjari. So his treatment in front of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was not digested well by Bipin Bihari Goswami. But his illumination came from Jagannath Das Babaji. That's why in the Parampara, he's put there, not Bipin Bihari Goswami.
Right.
Illumination meaning the shiksha.
Exactly.
I
Because
see.
in one bhajan, in Pali Dasi Kori bhajan, one section he's saying, Sri Rasa Manjari. You understand? That's Jagannath Das Babaji.
Yeah.
You understand? So he says, Sri Rati Manjari, Sri Rasa Manjari. Raghunath Das Goswami's Rati Manjari, Sri Rasa Manjari. He's singing to Jagannath Das Babaji.
So if we can go back and connect this, or can we go back and connect this to this sort of challenge of one shouldn't have too many disciples, and this means Diksha, right? One shouldn't have too many disciples as Diksha Guru, and this heart-to-heart connection should be there, and even this idea that we've been talking about of like, you know, if a Diksha Guru doesn't know the name of their Diksha, of their Shishya,
just an example.
as a
Yeah.
general,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
it's
it's a
just,
general
we're going to hold it lightly, right?
Yeah.
But when we think about Diksha and Shiksha in the way that we're talking about now, couldn't it be that like maybe Diksha Guru has so many disciples, but they also trust that the illumination will happen through Shiksha, whether it's through their Guru Bhai and Guru Bhen, or whether it's through, you know, other senior disciples, Diksha disciples. So isn't that also a possibility? And wouldn't that also be
It is a possibility, but it's not a formula. That's the difference. In other words, when it becomes a formula, then there's some corruption in the concept. So if it's an organic situation, my Gurudev has entered Samadhi, or my Gurudev, we don't have a lot of proximity,
Right.
or he's given the mantras, but you know he's actually told, oh, you can seek Siksha for illumination of the mantra, just because I'm realizing my ability to do that for you is not there. Or there's an idea that the logistics and pragmatics play out where it's not happening.
Yeah.
Then the disciple can speak up if they're not intimidated, therefore under inspiration, not intimidation, that, oh, Gurudev, I'm hearing Harikatha here or there, and my inspiration is there, I would like to take Shiksha there. And because disciples are not property, then bona fide guru is giving his ashibad, his blessing. Oh yes, you go, you take shiksha there.
Right.
Ridoy Chaitanya and Shamananda.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yeah.
Not to mention that the mood of Shamananda is Kanak Manjari, that his mood was illuminated in the association of Jiva Goswami Pad.
Yeah.
That Ridoy Chaitanya was in Sakyaras.
Going back to like devotees who've been practicing for a long time and then they're not feeling that inspiration or they're feeling ritualistic, what would you say to someone who feels like their needs are different because they've been practicing for a long time, but they're not getting the exact kind of inspiration that they need at that moment? Should they just go out and like looking for that, or I guess kind of what we were talking about yesterday, when in the general, what devotees are getting generally, it's not fitting the need of another devotee because of how long they've been around or whatever.
Or to get what they need at that moment. Yeah. Or
What did you say?
Or even just like what they need at that stage or that moment in their devotional life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say regardless of tenure in bhakti, meaning the amount of years you've been here.
Yeah.
Because remember, bhakti is a continuum even from life to life. There may be somebody who, quote, is relatively new, but their impressions from previous lives are yearning for a deeper sensibility.
Yes.
And
Right.
maybe just hearing a generic Harikatha continually. Everybody, it's not that there's no element of Harikatha that's unnecessary. But if the Harikatha doesn't build the stages of development, then you have to look where that will happen. If you, this is probably not the best example, but even in the mundane world, if you go to a job and there's just no prospect for advancement in that career, then you might want to start thinking, maybe I do want to look for some greater possibility.
That's a great
And I don't
example.
mean to make it so mundane,
Right.
but in the same way, if you're coming to the process of bhakti, and there is a sadhya here, I mean, sadhya means a goal, that I want to obtain love of God, but I'm really just dominated by the fact that the material world is miserable, I'm not the body, and that's not further inspiring me in what is love of God, then I would actively seek, where can I find this deeper inspiration? Now, in the earlier days, due to fear, for one, of people wandering into circumstances looking for it that were not either congruous with bhakti as Srila Prabhupada was giving it, or that they may be led into something else due to weakness of their understanding and be completely led off the path, there was reason to like kind of have parameters. Guardrails, yeah. How to stay within these parameters to kind of understand.
Yeah.
But I would think now in the maturation of Srila Prabhupada's movement, maturation of so many devotees in the movement, I think the rails can be broadened now because there's not the greater fear of, slipping off the rail one way or another due to the fact that the understanding is so narrow.
Yes.
There are devotees with broader understanding, and therefore we can feel comfortable that they can be guided without necessarily falling into a whole different situation. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to specify. In other words, like there's some devotees, and also sometimes that's misconstrued. Like devotees will go to Radhakund or something, and they may meet one Nirupati Vaishnava, means Babaji's, because Nirupati means they don't take any designation in this world. So, but it's not that the total profile of Babaji's is all bogus. Other than that, why are we glorifying Gaur-Shuras Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji?
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So it's that in that community, especially during the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he saw that because the social dynamic had so many people who were not practicing it correctly or genuinely, it lent a bad imagery to Vaishnavism as a whole.
Right.
Because if you're wearing saffron cloth, there's a social expectation. If you're a Babaji and you just have on white cloth and so forth, now of course it's become a little more conscientious that no, if you've taken any kind of status of renunciation, it's what it is. But you have to remember, in India, in any village, some Babaji's living there, he's doing deep bhajan. People would come to him to get shiksha. Eventually a profile develops. He's like Babaji, he's like Guru of many disciples, what have you. But then there are other people who looked at that and said, well, that's a good money maker. Right? All I got to do is go down to the market, get me some curry, wrap it up, go over there, you may put a little mud on or something to appear to be
little street cred.
A little street cred, right? and I got my Babaji business going
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
You understand? So those things were there.
So at a certain point in our own communities, Babaji became sort of a shorthand for this.
For that only.
Right.
And the fear that if people tried to look outside, they may fall into that.
Right.
Or anything else.
Yeah. So there was a sort of maybe more, I don't mean conservative in every sense, but there's a certain conservatism that took hold as far as stay within the parameters, don't
Which
go
I think
out,
was good.
beware of Babajis,
Exactly.
all this kind of stuff.
Which I think was excellent.
Right. And
Which I think
needed.
was excellent. And needed.
And needed.
But
But you think now it's a little bit of a different
now there's
landscape?
just more maturation about
Yeah.
understanding what's what. That's still not a license to go to a bogus Babaji,
Yeah.
but we will also not think every single person who's practicing that particular line of Vaishnavism, which is even present in Jaiva Dharma.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's writing. It's like the juncture period, because in his writings he's mentioning that Sannyasi Thakur meets Prem Das Babaji. In Prem Das Babaji's meditation, he realizes that he's a Manjari,
Yeah.
gives him his name and everything.
Right,
You understand?
right.
This is pretty much akin to Siddha Pranali.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So he's still writing in that modality. You understand? But certainly that particular practice and methodology would not have translated worldwide for us.
Right.
You understand?
The world campaign of Krishna consciousness.
It would not have been digested in the Western world the same way.
Yeah.
Therefore, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's inspiration to, in 1920, create the Gaudiya Math and a methodology of practice where people would come and live in the Math. There was strictness around who's renounced, who's in Grahast life, and so forth. All these things were very important to create a practical method of approaching Krishna consciousness, especially all over the world.
Yeah.
So that we didn't come in and everything is just, there's no designations. So there's no designation. We already had that with the hippies.
Right.
But it was a material no designation.
So does that mean? So does that mean if someone wants to go deeper, they have to look beyond what's given in the wider institution? Because the wider institution is meant for wide campaign of Krishna conscious spreading of the holy name and all that stuff. So if one wants to go deeper, there's something more beyond that.
No, not at all. Within the Saraswat line, which we identify as the Saraswat line,
Yeah.
everything is there.
Yeah.
In Srila Prabhupada's books, everything is there. There's nothing above and beyond. It's the matter of how we understand it.
Right.
We may need to get shiksha to understand it deeply. You understand?
Illumination.
Illumination. And that's because everything, if you read Adi Lila, chapter 4, the entire, in that one chapter, summarizes everything up to the highest kind of praying. If you read Madhya Lila, chapter 8, Ramananda Samvad, it goes all the way into praying Vilas Vivart.
What else is there? So what else is there?
Nothing. Everything is there.
Yeah.
But how to digest it, how to get to it step by step, because a lot of devotees will read it and say, that's just chant Hare Krishna, do your service, Prabhu.
Yep.
Yeah.
Work now, samadhi later. Except 50 years later, where's the work turning into the samadhi?
Samadhi, yeah.
You understand? So at that point, a person starts to feel a little bit
You must have spent some time in New Vrindavan.
jilted. Well, not a couple of places.
No, because that was a thing, right? That was
Work now,
New
samadhi.
Vrindavan, Work now,
Well, that was
samadhi later,
that was a general institutional.
that was a general.
consciousness.
Yeah.
Right, so
And
don't-
it was
don't
it was
frequent
almost
them.
like a point of pride, also.
Yeah,
at least
exactly.
in that community,
Exactly.
I know, and yeah, it's such a great point, right?
Yeah, but that becomes managerial innovation.
Yeah.
How to get slogans, get anything to get people to take to a process and maybe ignore even their own particular. Because if we're all coming from different positions
Yes.
from one life to another in bhakti, like you mentioned in the very beginning, how's it going to be a one size fits all? But in order to get some work done, you need the person who's trying to understand deeper and the person who just came yesterday said, You need both of them to get out there and put some bricks down. You need both of them to go out and collect some money.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
So then you work now, samadhi later becomes a slogan, and you start to give a social merit to those who collect more money, those Sankirtan heroes,
Yes.
Lakshmi Point people.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So it becomes managerial things. Now, because of Srila Prabhupada being the backdrop of that, as all this being offered as service to him, it gave sukriti and it gave power to grow in bhakti. But then if that power turns into self-interest, we keep collecting money, we keep on sending out people, we keep being managerial expertise in how we utilize people but we're not thinking people means bhaktas.
Right.
People's not bhaktas. They're two different things. So this is not a Fortune 500 company, even though it is. You understand? It's people who are bhaktas, either from previous lives coming and they're new in this life, or who've been in the process, even in this life, who are trying to understand their goal.
Yeah.
So how do we interact with the society then if we want to, pursue Krishna consciousness, but at the same time be, Krishna Prabhupada said you will show your love by how you cooperate with each other. So there's like two different things. There's like the institutional interest, but then there's the interest of like the bhakta.
They're not necessarily...
Are they different things?
Not really. I'm saying they're not necessarily in competition.
Yeah.
Because Srila Prabhupada's interest was in people becoming Krishna conscious. The bhakta's interest is in becoming Krishna conscious. Right? So...
But we don't see that. But we don't see that. We see a lot of that Lakshmi points and the societal things.
And that's because there's a... what started out maybe pretty much as an innocent attempt to offer things to Srila Prabhupada in the form of making temples, making communities, and doing things that required the, money, manpower, etc.
Yeah.
That's become a continuum of that is the service. And sometimes the becoming Krishna consciousness is conflated with it or kind of subdued by it. You understand? Whereas the necessity to realize, like Srila Prabhupada often talked, book distribution was his most emphasized point. But he also emphasized us reading the books.
Yes.
Right.
So if
just distributing.
Exactly.
Not,
we could have gone to Barnes and Nobles and done mass distribution. You understand? But he wanted us to read the books, become personifications of the realizations in the books, and spread that to others. It wasn't just a matter of how many books went out. It was a matter of the percentages around that amount of books going out, how many may actually become pure devotees from that endeavor. So the goal wasn't the volume. The goal was what will be gleaned from like when fishermen go out and they throw out the net, right? Then like you're looking for one special fish, but still they may throw out this huge net.
Yeah.
Right? Because the percentages now, I'll catch a bunch of them. Among them, I'll find that one.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So it's that kind of mood.
Yeah.
And of course, there's sukriti, there's pious activity. If somebody touches the book, buys a book, donates, anything.
Yeah.
Their sukriti file will lead to sadhu sangha, that'll lead to bhakti.
Yeah. Can I want to switch gears for a moment, but we can always come back to this.
Sure, yeah.
But something you said earlier about sort of our maturation, I think you used the word, right? Especially in terms of, recognizing boundaries and going here, going there, you've referenced your worshipful Gurudev a number of times, and I know in the first episode there was a little bit more about sort of specifics in terms of your own relationship and your own coming to take shelter of him. But I wonder if it's okay if we could talk about this a little bit, because I wonder if you've seen over the years a change in how the sangha of disciples of Pujapad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Maharaj and sort of ISKCON. Have you seen a sort of a maturation in terms of that relationship between these two sanghas over the years?
Absolutely.
And could you share a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. I think it's almost like come full circle, because of course the original relationship with Srila Gurudev, because he was so close to Srila Prabhupada. And I remember even when I first met Gurudev, which was in 1986, I was on the Padayatra. I was in ISKCON Padayatra, and we were going to Ram Janmabhoomi. Normally Ram Janmabhoomi would be closed, but they opened it in that year, and it was also the centennial year. So let's go. That would be a big thing. Coming back, we stopped in Mathura, and there were some ISKCON sannyasis with me and so forth, and they mentioned we should go to Sri Srila Narayan Maharaj. I didn't really know who that was, but they said this is where Srila Prabhupada took sannyas.
That's the
Gaudiya
Vaishnavism. So then I was Ekadasi that day. I was a little tired, but I'll go. That's the first time I saw Srila Gurudev.
And this was in 1996? 86.
It was in 96 that I actually connected with Gurudev again. I started writing him. In 86 when I met him, I got inspiration. It was really wonderful. And I came back, and I think around 89, 87, 88, around that time, I was starting to get tapes and books and writings. So I started writing him, and he would write me back on the blue aerograms, those folding.
Aerograms, yeah.
I have
I
mine
remember
still.
that.
I still have mine.
You still have them?
Still have them. I keep them in the drawer.
Wow.
So he was saying, well, you should come to India because I have no prospect for coming to America. But when you come to India, we'll make all arrangements, do your Harinam, Diksha, everything, and blah, blah, blah. And I was finishing some work, but I was just getting ready to go to police department also. So now there was no prospect for me to go to India. I was going to India every year when I was preaching in Africa, stay for 3 months, go back preaching in Africa. But now I couldn't go. But then 96, Guru Dev is making his trip to America. We beeline to Guru Dev and everything happens. You understand? Yeah. So, and in terms of what you were speaking about,
Yes.
in those early days, almost all the devotees in Vrindavan, anybody coming for parikram to Vrindavan, go see Guru Dev. Guru Dev coming to Krishna Balaram Mandir. Right? They would even go on parikrams together with ISKCON, Guru Dev. There was no problem. No problems really genuinely arose until the sort of split among the leadership in ISKCON around those who wanted to take shiksha with Guru Dev post the Samadhi of Srila Prabhupada, and those who were not as interested in taking shiksha there, and the sort of unstated battle that would go on around what that would mean for the ISKCON society.
Yeah.
Because you had very prominent leaders who were going to Guru Dev take shiksha. It's not secret. It's on YouTube.
Sure.
Right? Who were going there asking questions to try to, I would imagine, you asking questions because you want to enhance your understanding. And there may have been some who felt that reflected that the understanding was not present currently at that time in ISKCON. I don't believe that necessarily. I remember having talks with Srila Guru Govind Maharaj, etc. And, I went on Tirtha Yatra of South India. We stopped in Bhubaneswar, and hearing Guru Govind Maharaj's katha previously on tape and then speaking to him directly, there was no question he was a realized soul. Understand? I heard the katha of Radha Govind Maharaj. He would speak in Hindi, and he was so kind to us, he would arrange a translator for his saptas in Potomac. Understand? So, and there was many others. I worked with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is also a very dedicated soul to Srila Prabhupada and so forth. So it wasn't like there was not devotees who had some realization, but somehow or another this schism develops between those who were going for siksha. Even earlier than that, those who had gone to siksha to Pujapad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shri Goswami Maharaj. Same thing happened, right? So in some ways it was that split that's the genesis, because nobody ever sent out ballots to the entire devotee body. Okay, what does everybody think? These are all things going on in the so-called higher echelon of leadership. And they're making decisions which affect the whole body. You understand? So that schism was the genesis. 1993, it hit its peak. But I think the general body of devotees, some immediately, because if you're not really, again, deeply practicing bhakti, anything that rises in the social fabric that's exciting, jump on it. So then there were those who jumped on either side of that bandwagon and began, I'm with Narayan Maharaj, this is real bhakti. And then there's those who jumped on this side. No, this is outside of Prabhupada. And so in this way, that whole dynamic, like a fire, flared up a little bit. But I don't think it was ever in the larger community. I think the larger community simply was, well, I'm trying to practice bhakti, and where that's best done, and whose association that's best done, I consider it all good. And now we're seeing that. I mean, I've obviously done programs in ISKCON places, and I'm doing programs, obviously, in other sanghas, not only Guru Dev Sangha, but those of Pujapad Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shri Maharaj, right? So I think now, and also we're seeing, especially among a lot of young leaders, they're just not doing it. There are ISKCON temples who are saying, we're not closing our doors to other sadhus. We're not going to do it. And now the GBC simply has to deal with that. These are very successful programs. I'm cautious about naming names, but actually I don't think so. I think it's a glory of theirs. I think Deva Madhava Prabhu in Ypsilanti, Krishna Dev in Tulsa, Ram and Sita, and Keshav Gopal in Syracuse. You understand? And Bhakta Moses, who we just met in Maine. I mean, there's so many devotees who are, and then there are just also ISKCON temples where that's just not the thing. During our travels in October last year, we did a wonderful program in Tucson Temple, right? They arranged a wonderful program for us there, and Sudamani Mata, she was just so sweet and everything and kind, and arranged for our hosting, even though we couldn't stay because we were trying to get back. But just so sweet.
Yeah.
And then the Bhakti Rich program in Dallas, so many sweet devotees, they love Harikatha, but also it's the individual.
Yeah.
Because if you're an individual who's like, well, I've gone to the Gaudiya Mat, or so now this is the real knowledge and all these kind of things and so forth, then obviously you shouldn't be speaking in ISKCON temples and so forth.
Yeah.
But if you're genuinely, because I've never left ISKCON, I risked my life preaching in Africa for Prabhupada's mission. So don't tell me I'm not in ISKCON.
Right.
You understand? I almost died of malaria in Africa. You understand?
Wow.
And planting those seeds, that was Prabhupada's mission. And I've never spoken ill of Srila Prabhupada, ISKCON, GBC, or anything.
Yeah.
Because I'm absorbed in trying to practice bhakti. And it will be unfavorable to commit aparad to anyone. So it's also an aparad if any sadhu comes. Because the Vaishnava aparad means hanti, nindanti vaidveshti, Vaishnavam nandi nandati means not to welcome a Vaishnav.
Yeah.
Grujite, no hashanam darshane, Padma Puran's telling, to not be happy upon seeing a Vaishnav, this is aparad. So we're one family of Mahaprabhu, especially in the Saraswat line. And we should, and I think it's happening now. You see Pujapad Bodhaya Maharaj traveling.
Yes.
Srila Bhakti
we
Swarup
got to
Maharaj.
sit down with and speak with him as well.
exactly.
It was a beautiful conversation.
Srila Bhakti Swarup Siddha Maharaj. So many wonderful, my Guru Bhai Prem. All, and people are just traveling there trying to serve doing Harikatha.
Yeah.
Understand? And I found that in so many places it's just open and welcome. And this is real Vaishnavism. I mean, because if you read how Srila Prabhupada felt about my Gurudev and your Prabhupada's disciple, how will you feel differently? That letter's there. He's mentioning our relationship is eternally one of love. And then it's born out. You meet him. My Gurudev met him in 1946, 1947. And still in 1977 at his Samadhi, he's telling you put me in Samadhi by your own hands.
Right.
What kind of relationship that is. So how will I feel any kind of way towards that person but what my Guru Maharaj manifested towards them? You understand?
I think with the younger generation, there's a lot of like what we say mixing of devotees, like Rasikananda Maharaj and we were almost same age, and
Yes.
he became such a dear friend of mine, and he's of a different sangha, but I don't feel like that. I feel like we're the same. We're
I
just
feel like
devotees.
those like boundaries are much more like
blurred
and porous and like they're still kind of there for I think some good reason in terms of right, like it's sort of it's also good to kind of to know where home is and right but yeah that kind of that mixing maybe without the kind of like baggage that was once there.
Yeah.
Example, if your family member, your cousin, so forth, comes to your house, they live in another house, but they come to your house, you're welcoming, offering prasad,
Yes.
speak something, because for Vaishnavas, because you want to please, to fail to welcome and please a Vaishnav is an aparad.
Yeah.
What is more pleasurable to a Vaishnav than to allow them to share Harikatha?
Yeah.
So to bring them there, say, I'll give you some prasad, and you can take darshan of Thakurji, and say, but you can't say anything. The most pleasing thing to a Vaishnav is their ability to glorify Radha and Krishna, Mahaprabhu. Well, they'll fast. They'll say, no need for prasad. I don't even need a seat. I'll stand up with the mic, whatever. You understand?
Right.
Of course, for me, it may be difficult. No, my back is bad, but they'll do anything because that is their greatest pleasure. So to welcome and please a Vaishnav, even not giving money.
Yeah.
And some people come out there, everybody will give a dakshina also. But no, the opportunity to share Harikatha is the most pleasing thing to a Vaishnav.
Yeah.
So to allow a devotee to, and my Gurudev was like that. Whoever came, there's so many videos. Pujapad Radhanath Maharaj coming. Kirtanananda came to one festival we had in South Florida. When he came, Gurudev, he was in a wheelchair at that time. Gurudev welcomed him, blessed him. All the devotees went over, and some Pediya bases, everything. And then Gurudev says, "Oh, speak something." You understand? And Kirtan, he politely refused. "Oh no, I've come to hear you," etc., etc. And every time you see Gurudev, it's like that.
The culture is there.
The culture is, and you're right, Sanskriti culture is there. This is the culture of Vaishnavism. Also, one big thing always to remember, because sometimes you hear the idea, ISKCON and Gaudiya Mat. But that couching of the language is also incorrect. Gaudiya Mat is the institution of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Post the Samadhi of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his stalwart disciples, including Al Srila Prabhupada, continued his mission as Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, as Sri Chaitanya Mission, as Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti, as this mission, that mission, and the
ISKCON.
International
Yeah.
Society for Krishna Consciousness. You understand?
Yeah, but when it's couched as like ISKCON and Gaudiya Mat, it makes it seem like
Like some kind of animosity
Right.
between two rival groups or something,
Right.
which is not at all the case.
yeah, and not even, as you're saying, not even historically accurate.
Right, not historically accurate,
Yeah.
and also not accurate in its essential idea that there is a dichotomy. There's
Yeah.
not a dichotomy of philosophy. There's not a dichotomy of interest. There's not a dichotomy of now. If you bring it to a mundane level and you turn it into competition for men, money, and manpower,
That's when you
Well, that's
run
what
into
that's,
issues.
yeah, that's
and
where
maybe
turf
that's
wars and
exactly,
territorialism.
exactly.
comes in.
To
Right.
play devil's advocate, Prabhupada said, if they say something even a little bit different, then you will be confused or something, paraphrasing.
That was a fact.
Yeah.
So how do you harmonize that? I guess you answered it. I mean, when it has to do with money and turf and things like that's when you run into issues. But if someone is speaking Harikatha, then if they know what they're talking about, they're not going to say anything different. They're going to be everything's going to be in line.
If any person from another mat is speaking in this ISKCON temple now, where you have devotees who have 40, 50 years of tenure in practicing Bhakti,
Right.
they're not going to recognize something that's not Siddhantic.
Yes. Yeah.
Understand? On the other hand, even within the institution, you have all kinds of people who sometimes speak opposite Siddhantic things. The entire Ritvik thing is a whole argument about whether it's Siddhantic or not Siddhantic, right? We decided not to get into that topic specifically, but
I mean, we could.
I was going to ask you about it, actually, to be honest.
yeah, I'll just summarize it briefly. It's not Siddhantic.
Right.
And there's nowhere in Srila Prabhupada's writings, and somebody sent me a whole compilation of the word Ritvik in Prabhupada's books. And if you go to every single verse, he's talking contextually about a priest doing a yoga
yeah.
or this or that. He's not talking about anything about the continuance of parampara.
Right.
You understand? And also to think that the entire body, 11 years of Srila Prabhupada's teachings on Guru Tattva is completely put to the side in lieu of a conversation on May 28th, that even the conversation is debatable in terms of how people understand it.
The conversation's very debatable.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's clear for me that he's not talking about instituting a Ritvik system.
Right.
And then to take a letter not written by Prabhupada, and the person writing the letter confesses, I wrote the letter and took it just to get sort of credence or credibility for the letter, had Prabhupada signed it at a time when Srila Prabhupada is absorbed, getting into Samadhi Leela.
Yeah.
You understand? So to then change the entire history of Gaudiya tradition of Guru Parampara in lieu of a philosophy where the essential relationship between Guru and disciple is disconnected, because part of every verse you hear, Tajmat Gurum Prapajeta Jigyasyo Sreyutamam Tadvari Pranipatena Pariprushnena Seva.
Yeah.
So I put, and now there are, because these arguments have come up to them, they post things, but they post around the idea, not addressing it directly.
Sure.
Because even in this particular issue, I'm an aspirant coming to Bhakti, and I understand this is a issue that's debated. I want to get clarity on it. Can we ask Srila Prabhupada? Because he's going to be my guru. I want clarity from my guru. I don't want to hear from the second-hand person, the third-hand person, and don't tell me that was the history that you always spoke to this temple president. This is my Guru Dev.
Right.
I want to be, because Srila Prabhupada, even if you didn't speak to him, how many letters have been written? The letter series is thousands upon letters,
Right.
maybe hundreds of thousands of letters over that 11-year period. You could always write to, I want to ask my Guru Dev about this, to be clear.
Yeah.
Point number one. Point number two, you're advocating for me to come and take shelter of the most empowered Acharya who fulfilled the prophecy of Mahaprabhu, but in 11 years, he didn't make one person who was qualified to be Guru to succeed in his mission. Not one. He had thousands and thousands of disciples.
Couldn't get one.
Couldn't get one. But moreover, if I'm looking at it from a material point of view, if you say nobody made it, including you, why you want me to sign
Why should
up?
I listen to you?
Why should I listen to you? And why should I sign up to be his disciple?
Wow.
You understand?
Well, they would say, well, no, you're signing up to be Srila Prabhupada's disciple. I'm just...
But I'm saying even from what you're proposing is that Srila Prabhupada was unsuccessful
I see what you're saying. Right.
make a pure devotee.
Right.
Why should I sign up to be his disciple?
Why would I be his disciple then?
Right.
You understand?
How am I going to make it if... Yeah.
I've never heard that argument.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really good.
That's the bottom line. In other words, if he didn't make somebody who was a pure devotee, and the goal of Bhakti is to be a pure devotee, why are you asking me to sign up to take initiation from him? And I can't even have direct communication.
I can't even
on top of
clarify
it.
anything. Yeah.
You understand? Which will make it harder.
Well, I think. I mean, this is great, and you've like articulated in such like simple, straightforward way, major plot holes in this whole like Ritvik deviation. I think one of the points that I've heard a lot from proponents of this is that, well, where is the order that Srila Prabhupada gave to his disciples to be guru? And so they're looking for this sort of appointment. And if I understand correctly, you have disciples, you take disciples as well. So, I mean, not to be too, snarky about it. But were you appointed? Were you is there an order that your Gurudev gave you? Is there
Gurudev gave order, you realize something and help others. The help comes according to your adhikar.
That's the order.
So if you have some ability, some realization that's given by your Gurudev, by his kripa, to pass on what has been given in parampara, that's a function of Guru.
Yes.
So you're really not being ordered to become Guru, you're being ordered to continue the service of helping people. One help is illuminating the darkness that I gave the definition earlier, is technically called Guru.
Yeah.
You understand? So that's the first thing. So the idea of Guru Abhiman, you'll get the order and then you'll be Guru. What does that really mean?
Right.
Therefore, Srila Prabhupada was continuously quoting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wherever you go, whomever you meet, help them in this way become Guru.
Yeah.
Now, another flaw in that argument that the Ritviks give is that Srila Prabhupada can do everything for you. Post-samadhi. Suppose somebody walks up to him and says, yeah, Prabhupada gave me the order. You understand? It's saying, unless Prabhupada gives you the order, you can't be Guru. But you're saying in his samadhi, he's doing everything for the disciple. So the disciple comes and says, yeah, Prabhupada gave me the order. What's your argument? Because if you say, no, he didn't give you the order, no, but you
said he could,
he could do everything.
Right.
So he gave me the order. Let me see it. Wait a minute. So now you're jumping from everything is in transcendence to now we got to jump back to the mundane world and you need to see with your eyes a letter. But you won't accept that same dynamic going in the other way. I need the literal presence of Guru to actually take shelter of Guru. So there's so many logical and philosophical holes in that argument.
Yeah.
You understand?
I mean, there's no letter from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada to our Srila Prabhupada saying, there's
none from Krishna to Brahma.
There's not.
You understand?
Yeah, that's just not how it works. That's not our tradition.
I think something that devotees fall into is that we can fall into the trap of vilifying the Ritvik people. In one sense,
why are you looking at me when you say that?
Because you do it.
We all have to have hobbies, okay? Some people collect stamps. I vilify Ritviks. This is what I do.
But in all seriousness, that I asked one devotee about it, one senior Vaishnava, and he said that any type of connection with a pure Vaishnava like Uttam Bhakta like Srila Prabhupada is beneficial. So even the Ritviks are getting there's some benefit from connecting themselves with Srila Prabhupada and appreciating Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah,
that's true. But that senior Vaishnava that you're speaking about, didn't he add something to that as well?
Yeah, I would say there's an additive for sure.
What
he
did
said there's definitely benefit, but what about the...
but it's not Shastrik.
But it's not Shastrik, and because it's not Shastrik, therefore...
It's not beneficial association. It would not be beneficial association. In other words, even... And also like the Ritviks vilified those who've been victimized by their previous samskar, something fallen from the position of Guru. We should not vilify them also. Not vilify Ritvik, not vilify those who've fallen from the position of Guru. We should simply see these are Vaishnavas in different levels or different periods of growth, and their understanding may be corrupted this way, or somebody, either due to aparad or due to their previous material impressions and having prematurely accepted Guru Abhiman, not the service of Guru. Guru Abhiman and the service of Guru are two different things. You understand?
Wow.
Having accepted Guru Abhiman the previous impressions come to haunt you because the false egoism is still intact. Because you've taken this upadi, I'm a guru, and I have disciples. You understand? So the false ego is now holding that upadi. If you are doing a service, right, as a sadhu, sadhu means you have some realization about what is bhakti, what is Krishna consciousness. You're doing the service of removing the darkness of others to allow them to perceive that. That's a service. Who you are is in relation to how much you've realized your relationship with Krishna. You understand the difference? If a person...
No, I don't understand.
All right. The person who's a sadhu, his identity is I'm Das of Krishna with the aspiration to be the Palyadasi of Radhika. His absorption is in that. He's doing a service which is called guru.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
So he's not identifying I'm guru, he's identifying I'm the Palyadasi of Radhika in aspiration. If there's more maturity, has some realization of that, he's identifying on the Palyadasi of Radhika with the amount of detail that may be present in his understanding at the time. Mm-hmm. That's the identity of that person.
And that's constant.
That's constant, and that's also where his nourishment or her nourishment comes from. And they don't have an upadi. Either I'm John Doe or I'm Guru Dev.
Oh.
You understand?
Okay.
And you don't, the taste in that is superior.
Right.
Right.
You understand?
So therefore, there's no need to
I don't
get
need-
anything out of this Guru Bhav or this Guru Abhiman because
What would be there? But that can affect and hurt I'm the aspirant Palyadasi of Radhika. It can hurt that. Because Pratishta will be inherent
Right.
in Guru Abhiman.
Right.
And then it mentions Katam Sadhu Prema Prasati Suchi Raghunath Das Goswami saying, therefore pure prem can't enter that heart. And if you're in the point where you have the aspiration, I want to be the Palyadasi of Radhika, and you're reciting Tavai Vasmi, and you're absorbed in all these kind of things, and then you turn around, and I'm Guru, Hari, Guru, and so forth. No, I want to be Palyadasi of Radhika. That's taste good.
And I'm doing this seva.
and I'm doing the
this
seva.
seva.
So what
Yes.
you were earlier calling function, I think was the word you were
Function.
using. Well, we
It's
could
a
also say seva.
It is a seva.
It's a seva.
I'm saying function to only clarify what it's doing.
Right.
It's removing darkness.
Right.
The action itself is a seva.
It's a seva.
But now the other point being that those who may have either prematurely or were not free from that idea of an abhiman around it, or because of an aparat or any other reason, fell from that, they were still Vaishnavas trying to obtain bhakti.
Right.
If there was some aparat, the result of their personal dealings with their guru, that aparat and bhakti, that's not in our jurisdiction.
Right.
Right.
But that doesn't define them.
No, it doesn't.
And
it doesn't define them, and it doesn't. Moreover, it doesn't come into our purview how to define.
How to
them.
define right. That's not
and you're
our
connecting that
jurisdiction.
because the Ritvik people, they like to prey on that.
They're like that becomes the basis of why Ritvikism is necessary. Even though now they'll say that's not it, they're trying to put it around the order, but the order that they're putting out is seriously ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
You could never glean from that conversation on May 28th that Prabhupada wanted a continuum of parampara by Ritvik system.
If anything, I think
the
it's the opposite.
But something's being done, like it's growing because people are chanting Hare Krishna and people
So is
are connected
Bitcoin.
with but they're not chanting Hare Krishna in
I don't know if they are or not, but it's growing. So growth on an external platform is not the symptom of bhakti. Because, for instance, Vinod Bihari Baba in Braj, he's in Barsana,
yes.
right? Is growing the amount of people who are beginning to understand his sadhutva, the purity of his bhakti, etc., right? But what's growing is bhakti. That there's a huge building and that there's millions of dollars or rupees flowing through is not indicative, or that judges declared you're a winner in the adjudication of a property issue is not the symptom that this is bhakti.
right.
The symptom of bhakti, bhaktya sanjatya bhakti. Bhakti comes from bhakti. So who will see is a pure devotee. Whose Harikatha will hear and see, oh, very high class of Harikatha pure devotee. Then we can know something is growing.
Yeah.
And then, other than that, we can say there's very good expertise in management.
But but what about like thousands of people chanting Hare Krishna? That's okay, might be Namaparad or Namabas or whatever,
Namabas.
but that's still, isn't that still beneficial?
And I one thing I fully agree that the Bangalore temple may have had a right to the independence. I fully agree with that. I feel that if they built that Sangha, they did all the work. I was in Bangalore many, many years ago.
Really?
Yeah, before that temple was built. I remember when they were looking at that land,
Wow.
right? And so I wasn't there serving. I was visiting Bangalore.
Sure.
And so if you've developed any Sangha, I mean, let's go back to like the Sanghas we talked about with Deva Madhava and others.
Yeah.
They put the effort and work into building that place, bringing people, getting them to chant Hare Krishna. So if you've built that Sangha and inspired people and so on and so on, then you should have the managerial authority and the independence to make it grow. Now, the overall managerial body can oversee that standards should be there in the name of Prabhupada. Because you don't want a place that's in the name of Prabhupada and there's a weekly marijuana party. You understand? In the name of being independent.
Right.
So you want standards to be, that's what the governing body will oversee. But the independence of a person's enthusiasm to build a Sangha, build a temple, get a congregation, and so forth and so on, that's their individual effort. That can be rewarded and applauded. So I was not at all upset that they won a court case to have their independence. Prabhupada didn't want a centralized society, actually. You understand? So, and I don't know the legal implications of what went on with ISKCON Bombay and Juhu and then their temple and all. So, but that they have that's not a big thing. But that doesn't
that's not Shastric vindication or
exactly.
Or Bhakti,
you hit it on the head.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying more that.
No, I know that's not
good,
what you're
yeah.
saying, but I think there are, especially initially when that court case came out, it was like the kind of some of the popular understanding, especially online, was like, they're like,
and they're conflating that this was Krishna and Bhakti.
Right.
No, it was several judges who adjudicated a legal issue, and the legal issue came out in your favor. Go ahead and chant Hare Krishna, hear Hari Katha, practice Bhakti deeply, try to help one of those millions of people who are chanting Hare Krishna coming to your temple become the pure devotee whom you're saying even the most empowered acharya was unsuccessful in making.
Right.
You understand? This is. I'm being sarcastic.
It's a truth.
It's a whole.
It's a fact.
It's a whole. Going back to this, the dangers of Guru Abhiman. And I'm going to put you on the hot seat a little bit, but even knowing those dangers, you accepted this role. Not Guru Abhiman, but you accepted the role, the seva of serving others, helping others as a guru. What if to the extent that you feel comfortable sharing, I know it's a very personal thing, but what kind of compelled you to take that risk? Because it is a risk, right?
If you're doing Hari Katha and you're traveling and you're serving the Hari Katha, because we're always serving.
Yeah.
It's not my Hari Katha or any other preacher, sannyasi, anybody's preach. It's not their Hari Katha. It's our Guru Varga's Hari Katha. You're doing that service. If you're doing that service in a way that it touches the heart of someone and they become inspired, this is called Ado Shraddha. The next step in the process is the depositing of that faith in a sadhu sangha. If that person's faith is stimulated and nourished by you, and they feel, I want to repose this faith in you for my further development, to say no is not a service to Guru Parampara. You understand? So it's a service to say, yes, if I can help you, right? Because this relationship is also one of love.
Yeah.
It's the meaning of Vishwambhaya Guru Seva. You've not taken an idol, right, to be put on your altar and pictures and all this kind of stuff. You've created a relationship. The relationship is that I'm doing a service to my Gurudev by continuing the mood of giving Nam. Understand? And there should be some realization there.
Yeah.
Right? There should be some sense of realization, especially in giving Diksha. Some sense of realization. And again, because we romanticize realization, then people say, oh, so that means you realize your Siddha Swarup? You realize your and all these kind of things. First of all, it's not your business. Right? That's first thing.
Yeah.
Because your Ishtadev, your Bhajan, your Mala, and one other thing should always be kept hidden according to Shastra.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is, you should not do it unless there is some realization.
Yes.
And then you can actually bring people, because Rupa Goswami, 3 kinds of people may do the service. who's Nitya Siddha, who's descended to this platform and operates on the platform of Majjamadikar, meaning Prema, Maitri, Kripa, Upeksha. One who's become Siddha by sadhana. They're still operating on that same platform. And one who's Sastra Yukti, Sunipana, Drita Shara Uttamarikari se Tare Sangsar. Rupa Goswami is mentioning who's doing sadhana and has Uttamarikar in that practice of sadhana, having become Sastra Yukti Sunipana, having understood the application, meanings, realizations of Sastra, therefore Drita Shraddha, their faith is fixed. You understand? They can Tariye Sangsar, help others cross the ocean of Sangsar. These three different persons. Prabhupada mentions in maybe the 5th verse or something of Upadeshamrita. He mentioned this is what he's saying, even a Majjhima may do this service,
yes.
but it should be understood. So then he breaks down, but be careful here.
Right.
Yeah?
I think in ISKCON we run into issues when there is a board that approves people becoming gurus. And I think actually it's not approval. It's that. What is that? What's that? What do they call it? It's they.
It's like a double negative or something.
Yeah, it's like a double negative. It's like they
don't disapprove.
They don't.
I don't know the exact language, but it's something like that.
No, it's like, does anyone disapprove? And if no one disapproves, then you can be a guru.
Right. So it's like no objection. Or
that's what it is. No objection. Yeah. I see problems with that, but I was wondering what your opinion is on that. I know that it's not meant to be ecclesiastical, like not disciples shouldn't be ecclesiastical, but the guru also shouldn't be.
Right.
The whole thing should not be based on any kind of ecclesiastical consideration. I understand trying to not have a society where any person who goes to sleep and wakes up and decides this may be a good idea,
right?
should start taking disciples. On the other hand, genuinely, because there should be mutual pariksha, means examination.
Yes.
So disciple and guru should both examine each other. And on a larger scale, the social body may be examining that person, because if you're traveling within the institution and you're doing Harikatha, people will hear your Harikatha. If they become inspired by your Harikatha, and there's some examination of your ability to practice it, right? And there's some understanding that there's some level of realization here being manifest, then I think that should be an organic thing between an aspirant and that person. That's my feeling. Problem is, which is often quoted, and it may be there's some genuine concern that when people come, they don't have any understanding. But what do you of Guru Tattva?
Right.
But then what do you think would be the most essential need when people come?
Educate them.
In Guru Tattva, because Guru Parashraya is the first Sangha of Bhakti.
Right.
So you would think the first education while you're doing dishes or mopping floors is to clearly understand what is Guru Tattva.
Right.
Yeah.
Understand? And not what is Guru administrative process in our institution, but what is Guru Tattva. You understand? And then, and that will not come necessarily by a course in, what do they call it now? Disciple course?
Disciple course, yeah.
Yeah, no.
You're talking about something different.
That's how the institution works for disciple gurus.
Yeah.
You need a course in Guru Tattva. What is Guru? What is the goal of Bhakti? Can this person help me reach the goal of Bhakti? And if I'm making relevant inquiries to this person, can he answer them? I heard a class in Europe of one person who was doing that service, and a person raised their hand and asked, at what level are we eligible for Raganuga Bhakti? And the person who's doing the service of giving initiations answered, when you're a pure devotee. So two things, and then went on to give a whole elaboration about the drawbacks of even thinking about it at this stage.
Right.
So a couple of things are problematic here.
Yeah.
One is that, again, you spoke very wonderfully in the beginning about individuality of people. This person, even if they don't have adhikar for practicing Raganuga Bhakti, if you're doing the service of Guru, your business is to explain what is Raganuga Bhakti, how it works, and that person will then have some true epiphany where I am and where I need to go. To simply say, when you're a pure devotee, first of all, the answer is wrong.
Right, that's not
Because
actually
Raganuga
accurate.
Bhakti is a sadhana.
Right.
It's not siddha.
Right.
Yeah.
That's first thing. Secondly, you start to explain. Rag means Isti Swarasika Raga Paramavishna Tabhabet. This is called Rag. The inhabitants of Vrindavan, they are ragatmik. to aspire to serve Krishna like they serve. It is called rag, their kind of mood. Doing anugatya to that mood is called raga. Explain what it is. Let the person digest the explanation, ask you privately about their eligibility, so forth and so on. But now after telling the person that when you realize Krishna or whatever he said that would indicate you have to be perfect, then backed up on that a little bit and said, yes, when you're at very advanced level and you know you're not the body. Then he began to say, he told a story about a brahmachari who was doing wonderful service in the ashram. But when he tried to understand Raganuga Bhakti, he developed a homosexual desire for others in the what has that got to do with tea in China? You understand? So I was thinking, how will this person do anything but now be super intimidated about ever bringing this question up again or any question
Right. So you just shut this person down.
Shut them down. Not only shut them down, but anybody else in the class, because they have regard for you, anybody who would have thought about asking a question like that.
Right.
Understand? So this then becomes intimidation, not inspiration. If you answer the question, which means you should be Siddhantavid yourself, like Sastra Yukti Sunipunya. Now, if Bob walks in off the street and asks me about, can you explain what this Parakya Bhav, it's inappropriate.
Right.
So we're going to discuss, Bob, there's so many things first to prerequisites in Bhakti to understand. We're really not these bodies, the souls. You understand? So Sastra Yukti means not only understanding the logic of Sastra, but the application
How
of
to
Sastra.
apply, yeah. Wow. And I mean, just to use that example, obviously as a person giving Harikatha, that's your, you have to like make that call on how to answer. But I would think that even if Bob is sincerely asking, can you tell me about Barakya Bhav? Not that you're going to go into it, but you should at least, I would say, be able to,
Set the table.
set the table and tell them, set the table is a
Exactly.
great term.
Yeah,
Set the
yeah,
table, tell them, right, give them some assurance that, this is a real thing in our
Yes.
tradition.
Yes.
And there's
It comes at a particular stage.
And
Here's
this
how the
is
stages
right.
work. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
it happens because that person who's saying that on the Vyasan, he was told that same thing.
That's
Exactly.
true. That's
Exactly.
true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that became the model of how to shut down inquiry that superseded the ceiling, philosophical, theological ceiling that was imposed at a time when people didn't know what these things were and they were going here and there to try to find out.
Right.
That's how that started.
Yeah.
So let's not get inquiries. And then, of course, you did have some who did understand those things. They would travel for Harikatha, speak these things. So now an intimidation factor comes because we want to see every guru on a homogenous platform
Yes.
of, yeah.
Right,
You understand?
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So obviously when it took place that there were some people who were more steeped theologically and had even more realization.
Well, that's threatening.
It's threatening because now you're creating a standard of guru that may not be able to be universally seen in all of us. So therefore, let's cap the ceiling at questions about suffering in the material world and you're not the body. Let's stay right there.
It's like dumbing down or like putting the lowest common denominator. So we're all kind of, And so much of that is like internalized, right? Like, I mean, it was like we started talking about, Barakya and then like an alarm goes off. I hear this like ringing and I'm like,
trigger words.
a part of me is like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
oh my gosh, they're on to us. It's like the GBC. Right? Like, especially if you kind of came up in Krishna consciousness at a certain time, it's just so drilled into you. Like, oh my gosh, red flag goes up as soon as
I'm
you
sure
hear.
you remember that.
Barakya, as soon as you hear
trigger
Siddha
words.
Pranali, as soon as you
Immediately
hear.
they give the example of the Gopi Bhav Club in LA.
Yeah,
and so forth,
it's
so
just
on.
like,
You understand? So, I mean, all these words, Bob, and then when you read them in Srila Prabhupada's books, you got to kind of just bypass it because,
right. Ooh, that's like,
you understand? So you can't inquire about it and so forth. So, and that's what led to, in part, a exodus to some degree of people searching to understand what it is Srila Prabhupada wrote. Because you can't just keep bypassing the information and dismiss it as it will come as an epiphany just out of the clear blue, especially when I die.
Yeah.
Because
How's that gonna
right now
happen?
the philosophy is if you die, you go back to Godhead. If you kept your tenure in the institution.
Sure, yeah.
Right? So, but that idea that is no need to know these things is part of what created an exodus, which shouldn't be. Because people weren't exiting to exit the service of Srila Prabhupada. They were trying to understand how to better be inspired to serve Srila Prabhupada. You understand? And the idea that there's no need to know these things is just false, because Srila Prabhupada would not have put them in his books. Goswami Varga would not have written like Jiva Goswami 400,000 verses. There wouldn't need to be so many tikas on Srimad Bhagavatam. One tika would have been enough. But the constant manifestation of realizations is meant for us to feed the ocean of aspiration we have towards serving Radha and Krishna and Mahaprabhu.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yeah. It's amazing. Prabhu, could you, now is like the 20th anniversary of the passing of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Could you tell us something about your interactions or relationship with him? Any memories you can share? I'm sure people would love to hear that.
Yeah, probably 20 years worth. I was with Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj from 1979. And it wasn't until 1993 when those things started to happen that there was seemingly some distancing. Mm-hmm. But actually, I don't ever think by heart.
Right.
You understand? So, yeah, I mean, many pastimes that we had together. He was the one who sent me to Africa. I met him originally. The first time I saw Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, actually, I was on a break from college, and I decided to join the ashram. So I moved to L.A., and I was in that first Bhakta program that Dhanavir Maharaj had started in L.A. to train devotees.
Yeah.
Wow.
There are many nice devotees in that program.
Kind of the original Bhakta program, right?
Yeah. He started that afterwards, but that was the Bhakta program.
That was like the genesis of it. Yeah.
That's the genesis. Him and a devotee from Israel, whose name I can't remember, they were running that program. And Jai Tirtha was kind of the overarching person in L.A. Then Tulsi Das was the president. And what was it? Ramdas, Abhi Ramdas, the artist, was in that Bhakta program.
Right.
Bhada Hari Prabhu, Kirtaniya, Amala Bhakta Prabhu came later. He was a yoga teacher.
Whoa.
So that was 1975. And he came to the BBT because he was on the library party. So he came to the BBT, and I happened to be doing service in the BBT warehouse, stacking books, something. And I saw him, and obviously because he was an African-American person of African-American descent, and the kind of regard that the devotees were showing him, I was thinking, wow, that's pretty far out. I'd like to meet him, you understand? But he was busy doing something, and by the time I got back to the temple, because there was a very strict daily regimen at the temple, from your service, and Agni Dev was like our Sankirtan leader. So he would take us out on Harinam from right after breakfast prashad till 5. Right, you do a little chores or something, then go out till 5, come back, shower, and it's time for Sundarati, etc. Right. So when I got back to the temple, you're under that strict regimen. I didn't get a chance to meet him. Later on, I went back to go to school, and my music career kind of became successful. So I used to go to Govinda's restaurant on 55th Street to take my dinner every day.
Oh, wow.
It was almost like a regimen. I would do TV commercials or recordings for like BBC and all that kind of stuff.
In New York.
In New York, during the day. Literally carrying my instruments, believe it or not, walking, because I was just, you don't carry this stuff on the bus. I'd walk up and down Manhattan. And by the time it came around dinner time anyway, I'd go to Govinda's, take my dinner, and then my last musical thing of the day was to play dance classes right on 8th Avenue, right around the corner from there. Anyway, once I was in Govinda's restaurant, and a devotee approached me and said, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj would like to talk to you. And he had just taken sannyas in 79. And so I went up to the room, and himself and Brahmananda were there together. And he mentioned that he had taken sannyas, he's doing some preaching projects. He had heard that I'd been part of the movement before or something. And he asked for two things. One, if I could give a donation, and the other is if I could help him arrange some preaching programs in the urban communities. Because his original mission was called Urban Spiritual Development, which was really preaching in the urban communities. Mm-hmm. So I had some connections, because my studies, part of my musical studies, was at a place called Jazzmobile, which was in Harlem. And I used to frequent a couple of venues there, the National Black Theater, the Tree of Life bookstore, which is a very famous Afrocentric bookstore there. So I arranged some programs for him in those places. Later on, I really became sort of inspired to just give up everything and join. I had done that once before, right? But I said, no, I just want to go back and live in the ashram. Wow. My VA bill that was paying for college was done now, because I came back from LA, because I called my mother once and she said, listen, I love that you're a devotee. That means you're not drinking, smoking, acting crazy. But I think you should finish your education. So,
Good mother.
And the GI Bill was paying for it because I was in the military.
Right.
So, and they sent her a letter saying if I don't go back next semester, they're cutting the stipend. So anyway, I went back in 79 and said, yeah, I do want to go back and live in the ashram. So I went all the way back to LA. Because in New York, if you're there, people know you're there, your phone will ring, because we had a pretty successful career in music, and they'll call, and But if they call you 3 or 4 times, you just move on to the next person.
Right.
So I went to LA so I wouldn't be disturbed, but LA was quite different from when Srila Prabhupada was on the planet. You understand? So I wasn't feeling very inspired. So I called Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. He had a restaurant in Capitol Hill in DC. He said, well, just come here. So I came there and we started serving there in the restaurant in Capitol Hill. I was there for about 6 or 8 months. And he came down to give Srimad Bhagavatam class one morning. And he started Jayarat. Oh, by the way, Papa Staya and Ikindra, you'll go to Africa. And no, first he said you'll go to the Mayapur festival in India, and then to Africa. Jai. Kunja Bihari. So like, we were just sitting there. We're like, huh? We're like, what? You know. So of course, after class, he started giving the details. And the other devotee, Papa Staya, for whatever reason, could not go. So he gave me $10 and a one-way ticket to Lagos. So, and of course, that time in ISKCON, everything was a surrender.
Yeah.
And surrender was wherever they send you, whatever you, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
So I went to Lagos, where I was a little worried about the one-way ticket thing because if I got there and then I had to come back, because that was a flight. That was not a short flight.
Yeah. Had you been before? Had you ever been?
I'd never been to Africa. But interesting thing is, I think on the earlier podcast, I showed Nam Ras the picture of my uncle, and he taught us yoga and everything when we were like 11 and 12 and all of that. But he mentioned once I got into high school, kind of college days, and I got really into the Afrocentric movement and reading all these books of Frantz Fanon, all these different things, Malcolm X, etc. And he would say, but you're not that body. And I would retort to him, but we got to do something for our people. He says, if you study these things, you'll do great things for your people one day.
Wow.
She said like that. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So then I was excited to go to Africa also because I was in music, and part of my relationship to music, I was a percussionist, and I was playing all kind of ethnic drums. Among them was one drum called the Bata drum, which is directly related to the religious traditions in Africa.
Huh.
So I learned so much about the culture of Africa via the diasporic expression of it. So those slaves who came here, they maintained that tradition in what was called Lukumia Santeria. So if you go to any urban area here in New York, you see the people with the colorful beads on, a lot of Latin people especially, and what have you.
Yes.
So that's a whole culture which originally originated in Nigeria.
Wow.
So I was very excited because I had some background in that sort of thing. And so I was happy to get there. And then preaching in Africa was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Especially West Africa. I later went to Central Africa. It wasn't quite the same, but Ghana and Nigeria in particular, it was absolutely amazing. And so, that was a whole relationship that I had with Maharaj. Yeah. And then when 1980, I stayed there from 79 to 87 and went to a bunch of various countries there to preach and do service. And then when we came back to America, he reiterated that we've done Africa. We actually went to Central America for a while to try to preach there. He said, I started out trying to preach in the urban communities. And so I wanted to go ahead and accomplish that mission.
Yeah.
So then while we were back in America, we got an apartment. First it was like in a little basement flat. Then later on, we got a more developed house, and we were doing lectures at Howard University in DC and at another big church called Shiloh. Those were the two main places, but we were doing radio shows, various things. And Maharaj now was traveling because his portfolio had kind of broadened, and he was always big. Everywhere he would go, people loved him.
Right.
So, but now, I think he was vice chairman of GBC at that time also. So he was traveling, he was making, he didn't start making, disciples by then, because 85, he started making disciples. Because I remember I was in Zambia, and I was studying, I wanted to learn Hindi. So I learned Devanagari, and the lady who was teaching me Hindi said, listen, you learn Devanagari, you want to be a sadhu, you should apply this to learning Sanskrit.
Wow.
But then I ran into grammar, and it was like, reading Devanagari is one thing.
Right. But to actually deal with the
grammar and everything, I was like, okay. So, but still to this day, I give the 100% good attempt. And very sweet devotees, Srila Bhakti Swarup Srila Maharaj. Others, I'll ask people different things to try to grow.
Yes.
And so forth and so on. So anyway, when we came back, Srila Bhakti Maharaj had come, and we were doing a lecture at Howard. And it was packed, the whole auditorium there was packed, everything. We came back, we were all excited. We were in a taxi ride coming back. And I mentioned, since we had this building, maybe we should try to create a institute where people could come and take the courses. Because we had so many different kind of bridge courses, like leadership, male-female relationships, dealing with stress, time, all kind of different things, but from a Krishna conscious perspective. So then I said, maybe we can have like an institute. And Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj nodded his head. He said, it's like a good idea. And the name came in my mind, the Institute for Applied Spiritual Technology.
You created the name?
Oh yeah, I mentioned it in the taxi. He liked it. So it was like,
Wow.
boom. Well, this is a good idea.
That's
you know what I mean?
That became iFast, yeah.
That became iFast. So, and it was just like, with like, for lack of, I think the, sort of slang term of spitballing ideas.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Right,
came up
In a
with that.
taxi of all places. That's
Yeah,
so
we were in
great.
a taxi going, I remember clearly, we were in a taxi going back from Howard, and we were really excited because, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's preaching was so dynamic in that he could cross all, what you have now is Krishna West and all of that. Long before any of that, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj
Has the original bridge.
has the original bridge of transitioning into areas and making it effective to bring people across that bridge into Bhakti.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember years ago going to I think it was a restaurant that was run by the Hebrew Israelites. And because they do all these like vegan restaurants and stuff. And I think I struck up a conversation where I mentioned Bhakti Tirtha Swami and they went like wild. Like they were like talking about him like he was like, like one of theirs, like
It was. I went
so
to
much
Egypt and
respect
Israel
for
with
him.
Maharaj.
You did?
We went to Dimona to their community.
Wow.
So we went to Egypt first.
Yeah.
Then we went to Dimona in Israel, their community, and spent like a whole week, I think a week and a half or something there. And he was like the main speaker, person of guest. Their leader invited him. It was like an amazing thing. So he was able to infiltrate all his culture. And Rajalila, she had created a contact with the women there. That's how that kind of started, I believe. She was in a women's group and she cultivated them, brought them to a place we had in DC on 16th Street. And that's how that relationship started. And they met Maharaj and the rest is kind of
Rest is
history.
history, yeah.
Kind of history.
Amazing.
So she cultivated that grouping.
Yeah.
And, in that way, the Institute began to grow. Many devotees came. And like I said, it was way back in the 80s when myself, who's now Shanta Maharaj, Sanatan Prabhu, we were all working with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Sanatan Prabhu was one of the original financiers of everything. Sanatan, a lot of devotees don't know him, but he was one of the original another person in himself, financed that restaurant in Capitol Hill, developed it. They were the ones who paid the tickets to Africa for devotees, everything. Wow. So there's so many devotees who did so much service in that regard.
Unsung heroes.
Unsung heroes, yeah. And then myself, Shanta Maharaj, and Sanat, we were all hearing the lectures of Gurudev and all at that time. We were sharing them too, because I would share them with Maharaj and we would have discussions on them. Because another thing that happened was that when I was in Africa, one devotee visited there and he had taken sannyas from Srila Bhakti Rakshak Maharaj. When he left Africa, he left 250 cassette tapes of lectures of Srila Sridhar Maharaj.
Really?
Wow.
250.
250. We had all these boxes. So me and Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj were constantly like passing them back. I'd give half each here. So we were passing them back and forth and so forth and so on.
Wow.
So, but then I think Pujapat Triparoy Maharaj and Shringa Maharaj were compiling that big book they did.
Yes.
And they wanted the tapes to, so we gave the tapes to them for that purpose.
yeah.
I believe.
Wow.
But yeah, so much preaching went on with iFast, obviously, which has grown. And then it developed into wanting a community that then manifested Gita Nagari and the devotees who are in Gita Nagari. And all of those devotees are so sweet. From Madhvacharya Prabhu, Jagannathan Chamani, Brajalila Kavir, all have worked so hard and dedicated to Maharaj for so many years. And all of us, our hearts have always been there with Maharaj. Yeah. This quote, so-called divergence, it seems like, was only a matter of everybody's spiritual impressions coming to bear at different times. So obviously, Srila Narayan Maharaj was our eternal guru, Chakudan Diloye, Janami Janami Prabhu say. So when that connections manifested, that was reality. But that never should have been, and is not now, hopefully, an idea that, they went to Narayan Maharaj instead of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj.
Right.
Actually, just quite frankly, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj had taken sannyas from Kirtanananda, like many had done. When I joined in 75, I wrote to Srila Prabhupada for initiation. When I went back to school, they said you can't be initiated and live outside the temple.
Oh. That was at the time.
And I had no problem with it because how will they monitor what you're doing? And they had the Bhakti program, which was really strict. So, but then later on, when I came back in 79, Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj took all of us to Kirtanananda because that was the He said that was the oldest of Prabhupada's disciples and so forth. But we were working with him, so we didn't really have a relationship with Kirtanananda either, because we were really working with him.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but then when things, played out with Kirtanananda and all the different things that went on, so forth, so on, he, I don't know if he was initiating at that. I think 85 by the time he was initiating, but he never brought up that we should take the Nam again and everything. Because I think also in this kind of general is the idea of if you took and the Guru was in good standing at the time,
Right.
there was a kind of philosophy like that.
Yeah.
It's also not sastric, right? But that was kind of a general idea. So we never really took the mantras or Harinam again. I think Rajalila might have. But anyway, by heart, Rajalila is so close and doing so much service, it would not have mattered. And nobody else was in that situation. Because Yashoda actually she was the first of his disciples there in Africa, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then Parvati, I think, was one of the first ones here in America.
Right.
So, so we had never taken Harinam or Diksha again after that. But of course, according to Sastra, Puna Vidi Sabhyak Vaishnavat Guru. If the Guru, Vaishnava Guru Pratishtena, Mantrena Nirayam Brajet, if Guru has fallen into some untenable circumstance to be Guru, one again should take the mantras and Nam from Vaishnava Guru. So following that tenet of Sastra also was, the substantive sastric backing behind, again, taking Nam and Diksha from, even though technically it's the Nam and Diksha.
Right.
Yes.
Understand?
Right.
But we never changed our mood of service.
Yes.
You understand? But when the controversies took place, that set the table again for, well, you can't give class, so on, so on. But all that stuff is kind of dying down.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Mukunda Prabhu, it's been so fantastic
this has
speaking
been so
with you.
great.
Thank you so much for doing this.
thank you. I'm glad this was also meeting both you, Vinkantabat Prabhu, and seeing you in person.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes,
Right?
thank
Because
you.
I was sitting in my living room the first time.
So you all haven't met in person?
No,
You haven't
never.
met in person.
First time.
First
That's
time.
amazing. Okay.
We've corresponded a lot, and
Yeah.
I've got so much inspiration from you, Prabhu,
Yeah.
but
No.
it's so nice to meet you in person. I did want to ask you one last thing, just as a closing. How can you just articulate something? How can devotees be more absorbed, gain absorption in Krishna consciousness?
Be an anugatya vasadu. Because in the anugatya vasadu, like when you go to the gym and you get the person who's your personal trainer,
Yes.
they'll give you all these little details about if you move it this way, it'll make this muscle proper. And, but don't do that because it'll put a strain on them. So all these little details of sadhan bhajan life, being in the association of a sadhu, if it can't be by proximity, it can be virtually. We have that technology now. So always being in the contact of a sadhu and hearing their harikatha, asking questions, pariprishna, and getting all these minute adjustments to your bhajan sadhan, and so many epiphanies will start to come, so many connecting dots will start to come. That's the first level of realization. Just like the program itself, from our waking up in the morning, doing our namaskar to Gurudev, then waking Thakurji, all these things. In the Prem Bhakta Chandrikas mentioned, Sadhana bhavibe jahar, siddha deha paibe tahar. What you're doing in these practices is what you'll do in your siddha. So it's not really the course of activity is different, the realization of things is different. So one, try to have a sambandha. If Gurudev is not given illumination in the mantra, I would ask my Gurudev, I just would like to have illumination of the mantras. I'm chanting consistently. I would like to have illumination. Gurudev is too busy, maybe not prepared to give anything. I would get that in shiksha. Even for some devotees while I was traveling, I would go over the mantras with them if they had Diksha.
Right.
There's devotees who still think we're worshiping the sun.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So I would actually take the time to go through and set up how the mantras work, the siddhant. Because the rahasya of the mantra should be between guru and disciple.
Yes.
Understand?
Right.
And the guru dhyan, because in the guru mantra, sanargati, guru mantra is the dhyan of your Gurudev.
Yeah.
So that should be personal with Gurudev and the disciple. But the siddhant around the mantras, because that's in Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Right.
Kam Gayatri is written there,
Right.
Yeah,
right?
it
What
is.
it is, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like secret. But the rahasyas of the mantras is what's confidential. But to get the siddhant and the proper perspective and conception of the mantra, and how to do Harinam in synthesis with the mantra, because the mantra is giving sambandha, and the Nam is Radha and Krishna. When a person first comes to Bhakti, they're chanting Namakshar, 32 syllables. the syllables will purify their chitta. When the chitta is purified, you recognize those 32 syllables as 16 names, which belong to Radha and Krishna. When you become more mature, you realize those 16 names are manifested as 8 pairs of names. Those 8 pairs are Radha and Krishna, who perform their Ashtakali Lila throughout 8 periods of the day.
Yeah.
The nature of that love becomes so powerful that Krishna realizes that the love that Radhika has is so great he wants to taste it. So that love transforms Radha Krishna, Pranay Vikriti Ladini Shakti Ashmad. That form becomes Mahaprabhu.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now that Krishna is in the form of Mahaprabhu and absorbed in Radhika's mood, because he's a greedy person and he wants to have his cake and eat it too, he takes the form of Jagannath so he can see it.
Right.
So we go from 32 syllables to
One.
to Mahaprabhu.
One name, one name.
One name. Amazing.
Amazing. Love it.
If you want to get in touch with Mukunda Prabhu, he's active on Facebook. I'll put it in the description, but he does lots of lectures on through
It is a
Facebook
YouTube channel.
and the YouTube channel as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much, Prabhu.
Oh,
Thank you,
Prabhuji,
Mata, also
thank
for
you.
coming. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
we will offer thank you also to my good wife who's
Yes.
bearing with me through all these travels
Here.
and
yes, off camera.
Yeah, it's so often there's like the the partner, the supportive spouse off camera.
Yes.
But we feel their love and their support in the room, and
Yes.
want to acknowledge them.
Acknowledge that. Yes,
Very
thank
much.
you.
Yeah, Haribol.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Hare Krishna.
Thanks. Haribol.
Haribo, Radhe Radhe.
Krishna Hare